I have something to report, and that is I have figured out how to get my cat to actually like me. I didn't realize you could change the disposition of a cat towards you, and you can. And it's easy, and you can do it with basically a bribe. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Smalls. This podcast is sponsored by Smalls, and listeners know that I have often had a standoffish relationship with my cat.
Yes. No longer.
No longer. It is both amazing and on some level just disgusting how much this cat likes me now because I have given him food that he likes.
It's so transactional with him.
Transactional. My cat is like a gold digger. It's true. And now, for a limited time, you can get 60% off your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/majority. My cat loves the Smalls food, loves any of the Smalls that is sort of fowl based, like chicken or turkey. Mm-hmm. But they have a broth, and he just goes berserk for the broth, and then is incredibly affectionate to me.
And it's really good to have that broth to hydrate them because sometimes cats don't drink water enough.
100%. But I'm still offended on some level that like his affection is completely, it seems
transactional,
like totally tied in to just like, well, give me more of that food.
You sound like a needy dog person.
Exactly. I mean, these are cats for you.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize that was the dynamic for a long time. Starting with Smalls is easy. All you got to do, you share info about your cat's diet, their health, their food preferences. Then Smalls puts together a personalized sampler for your cat. No more picking between random brands at the store. Smalls has the right food to satisfy any cat's cravings. Smalls cat food is protein-packed recipes made with preservative-free ingredients you'd find in your fridge, and it's delivered right to your door. That's why Cats.com named Smalls their best overall cat food. And like I say, Smalls has a bunch of amazing treats and snacks you can add to your order so that you can buy your cat's love. After switching to Smalls, 88% of cat owners reported overall health improvements, and that, of course, is a big deal. The team at Smalls is so confident your cat's going to love their product, you can try it risk-free. That means they're going to refund you if your cat won't eat their food, but your cat will. What are you waiting for? Give your cat the food they deserve for a limited time because you're a Majority Report listener. Get 60% off your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/majority. One last time, that's 60% off your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/majority. And now, time for the show. We're a little rusty.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Monday, January 5th, 2026. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, José Luis Granados Ceja, covering Latin America for Drop Site News, of course, on our military assault on Venezuela. Meanwhile, Maduro and his wife transported to New York City this morning for Trump's show trial. latest reporting death tally from the U.S. attack is at over 100 people. Meanwhile, Trump threatens Venezuela, give me your oil or else. And while he's at it, Trump threatens to invade Colombia, Cuba, Mexico, Greenland, and maybe just bomb Iran. Day one, Mamdani enters the legal fray against a big corporate landlord. Tim Walz is out the 2026 governor race. Amy Klobuchar appears to be in that Minnesota 2026 governor race. Postal Service changes. Postmark procedures will inevitably invalidate thousands upon thousands of mail-in ballots. We got 25 days until the next potential government shutdown. Chuck Schumer in hiding. 10 convicted in France of cyberbullying against France's First Lady, Brigitte Macron. And Pete Hegseth to start proceedings against Senator Mark Kelly over his video promoting the military following only legal orders. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is...
Oh, it's Monday. Jesus, what do we call it? Fun Day Monday. We are really rusty. I just panicked so much.
I wouldn't say we are so rusty. We did okay up until that very moment.
Okay, I'm rusty.
You had a
How are
complete
you?
breakdown.
The year's off to a good start.
You nervous to be here?
No, I was shocked at how
You're just used to being on CNN when they're like you've got like ADs all around you.
Yeah, I'm checked out here. I'm just I'm so big time now that it's just like, I don't even bother to prepare for the show.
YouTube, excuse me?
Yeah. Please.
Oh my gosh.
Where's my glam team?
Yeah, things have changed in the past week and a half.
I'm not allowed to look at her in the eyes anymore.
Poor
And
Brian
you just did, so
spends the whole day
you're
just
docking
looking
his
down
pay,
at his
right?
shoes. Yes, of course.
Unbelievable.
Oh yeah, and we introduced pay too, incidentally, over the break too. So that's
nice
been good.
to know.
How was everybody's Happy New Year, ladies and gentlemen? Thanks so much for joining us. How was your New Year?
My New Year was good. I have pretty low-key New Year's. I'm not a New Year's person. I did see Marty Supreme. Good movie. Good
I have
movie.
not seen that yet. Brian?
New Year's, I was in bed with a cold, so it was...
Fantastic. And Matt?
Set up a new gaming PC.
Right. Okay.
Okay,
So
awesome.
basically, here we go.
We are not cool.
No, not cool. New Year's. Thanks so much for joining us. As you know, there's been some news that has taken place over the past week and a half. We're going to obviously be talking quite a bit about Venezuela today. We have José Luis Granados Ceja, who now has recently joined Drop Site News. I think in the past, a couple of weeks, will be with us to discuss what he knows about Venezuela. On January 1st, New York City swore in its new mayor, Zohran Mamdani. And we have a couple of excerpts of his speech, and then, they really hit the ground running, joining into a big lawsuit against one of the bigger landlords in the city.
Pinnacle. People will remember 2 years ago I was complaining all the time about that was Pinnacle when I had that air conditioning leak and it warped my floorboards and they didn't come for months and I had no AC in the middle of the summer. That's the landlord he's going after. So awesome stuff.
Great name,
Zohran.
Pinnacle.
Yeah.
Yes. The pinnacle of what is the real
Slumlords.
question. Exactly. The administration has made some moves that I think, some people would appreciate. Ken Klippenstein reported that Jessica Tisch, the police commissioner, in a structural change, will no longer report directly to the mayor, but will instead report directly to a deputy mayor, which is it's very. I don't know the operations of the mayor's office, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of dynamic that creates.
It's a demotion. I mean, like Zoran doesn't seem to be saying that publicly, but they're trying to help her save face. It seems like that's how it is. It's a demotion.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one more layer, and that's the way you do it. What it means on a practical level is unclear, but certainly from a negotiation standpoint, as you have that ability to be like, you stay here, I'll go check with my manager in the back room and see if I can make a deal with you. That type of dynamic suddenly becomes a little bit different. And it suggests that there's a wider public safety portfolio that is not just being fulfilled by police only. And but we will see how that plays out. In the meantime, I should say, I've been doing this professionally for 20 years. I've been, following politics since, frankly, when I was in high school. I do not remember seeing a speech like this made. I've seen speeches like this, but usually like predating the early 70s, where there was such ambition expressed and sort of some level of sophistication expressed. A really amazing speech
It was.
that Mamdani delivered. Let's start with. Wait, is it 18A?
29A?
No,
Oh,
18A?
sorry.
It's 18, but yeah, 19.
18.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 18. It's 8. Just
18A.
Yes.
Right. That is a weird way of doing that, Brian.
Brian.
2026 is going to be tough for Brian. Good.
Wait, what happened? I was asleep.
Under the 19A is under the 18s heading, but it's okay. I understand where we're
It's
at.
all
So here's the first clip for Zoran, as we knew.
0 for 1 so far.
In writing this address, I have been told that this is the occasion to reset expectations. That I should use this opportunity to encourage the people of New York to ask for little and expect even less. I will do no such thing. The only expectation I seek to reset is that of small expectations. Beginning today, we will govern expansively and audaciously. We may not always succeed, but never will we be accused of lacking the courage to try. To those who insist that the era of big government is over, hear me when I say this. No longer will City Hall hesitate to use its power to improve New Yorkers' lives. For too long, we have turned to the private sector for greatness while accepting mediocrity from those who serve the public. I cannot blame anyone who has come to question the role of government, whose faith in democracy has been eroded by decades of apathy. We will restore that trust by walking a different path, one where government is no longer solely the final recourse for those struggling, one where excellence is no longer the exception. We expect greatness from the cooks wielding 1,000 spices, from those who stride out onto our Broadway stages, and from our starting point guard at Madison Square Garden.
Hell yeah.
Let us demand the same from those who work in government. In a city where the mere names of our...
You see that? He did the Brunson.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a Celtics fan.
Okay. Get out of the city. Get out.
that's fine.
Get out. You don't belong here.
But this is, to basically set up, every politician as they take office sets expectations. And in this instance, he is the expectation that he is creating here is that we're going to fail because we're going to be so ambitious that it's impossible for us to do all the things that we're going to strive to do. But we're going to do a lot of things. And he in no way sort of tried to moderate what his political leanings have been. If anything, he's been as explicit as at any time And to be fair, he never tried to moderate it during the election. But here is 18B.
I welcome the change. For too long, those fluent in the good grammar of civility have deployed decorum to mask agendas of cruelty.
Bar.
Many of these people have been betrayed by the established order. But in our administration, their needs will be met. Their hopes and dreams and interests will be reflected transparently in government. They will shape our future. And if for too long these communities have existed as distinct from one another, we will draw this city closer together. We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. If our campaign demonstrated that the people of New York yearn for solidarity, then let this government foster it.
I mean, this is the type of rhetoric you would hear Sean Hannity claim that, Obama or Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer embraced. And here is Mamdani embracing it and giving it a full-throated approval. The idea being that for the city to function well, for people to get the most, for people to maximize their potential and maximize their essentially their quality of life in this city, at least, it's going to involve everyone banding together. And he speaks pretty explicitly on this one too, 18C.
We will answer to all New Yorkers, not to any billionaire or oligarch who thinks they can buy our democracy. We will govern without shame and insecurity, making no apology for what we believe. I was elected as a democratic socialist, and I will govern as a democratic socialist.
Hochul, did you see that? Hochul was clapping just like a little bit. Just check out the left corner of the screen. Sorry, it makes me laugh. Go.
Govern as a democratic socialist.
Just keeping her hands down, like very low,
I will not abandon my principles for fear of being deemed radical. As the great senator from Vermont once said, what's radical is a system which gives so much to so few and denies so many people the basic necessities of life. We will strive.
It was very cold.
It looks.
I was there, by the way, it was. I did not expect how cold it was going to be. I had to stop and get a hat because I didn't realize, and my feet were frozen the whole time. But it was amazing, and like seeing Bernie swear him in was unexpectedly like really emotional. AOC kicked off the event introducing it, and then Bernie Sanders spoke right before Zohran Mamdani and swore him in on the Quran. And you just see one, I think, like the fact that Bernie Sanders, despite his old age, got to see this level of victory and the movement that he created come to fruition like this was really what was making me emotional too. But also just the rhetoric that followed, as you say, he did not back off. I will govern as a democratic socialist. And he hit the ground running. Perhaps we'll play it later. But he's already going after slumlords, as you mentioned, and he's doing it on day one.
And, I think in the coming weeks, we'll have someone on to talk about his administration, because what I think obviously he has assembled an administration to serve New York City, but I think it's going to serve a second function, which is not unlike the Center for American Progress did starting in 2004, when it became almost like the Clinton administration in exile. Many ideas came out of the Center for American Progress. And I want to be clear, I'm not talking about the similar sort of ideological bent, but I'm talking about how it functioned for the Democratic Party. And there is a big absence of think tanks on the left that provide ideas, personnel, etc., for an incoming Democratic administration, presidential administration. the best stuff that happened under the Biden administration came out of the Bernie and Warren wings of the party in terms of antitrust and labor, et cetera. And I think what we are going to see out of this Mamdani administration is a training ground and an incubation of ideas, not just in the context, Alina Khan obviously is working on affordability issues within the administration, but not just on the context of antitrust or affordability, but also in terms of labor, but also in terms of housing. I think we're going to see people in this administration potentially in the, knock on wood, a Democratic administration in 2028, if there is one, and ideas that are piloted in New York City become, used as the basis of developing policy for the country. So it's a very the benefit of this administration is not. I think we can't even really sort of get a clear sense in the event that they're successful in the majority of things that they try. I don't think that we have a full sense of just how much meaningful this is going to be to Democratic politics going forward.
And a laboratory for governance, too.
Exactly.
Like in the urgency that will be required after this Trump administration.
All right. In a moment, we're going to be talking to José Luis Granados Ceja about what's going on in Venezuela and the United States, et cetera, et cetera. First, a couple of words from our sponsors. This episode also brought to you by Wild Grain. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, seasonal pastries, and fresh pastas. Plus, all items conveniently bake in 25 minutes or less. This is fantastic. This is not like a store-bought. Wild Grain uses simple ingredients that you can pronounce. They use slow fermentation process that can be easier on your belly and richer in nutrients and antioxidants. There's no preservatives. There's no shortcuts. Wild Grain boxes are fully customizable. You can get the variety box. They have a gluten-free box. They have a vegan box. They have a new protein box. I had a shipment, maybe it was in November, I had like this amazing sourdough bread. I put it into the oven. I think it was like 20 minutes, and it's fresh baked bread. They give you, I don't know if they still do that, but they gave me some free croissants that were incredible. Apple cider donuts. The stuff is delicious. You pop it in. It's like you've actually cooked it from scratch. I don't really know how to explain it beyond that, but it's amazing and it's delicious. There's nothing like having an artisan bakery in your freezer to chase away the winter chill. Now's the best time to stay in and enjoy comforting homemade meals with Wild Grain. I highly recommend giving Wild Grain a try. Right now, Wild Grain is offering our audience $30 off your first box, plus free croissants for life. They're still doing that. When you go to wildgrain.com/majority to start your subscription today. That's $30 off your first box and free croissants for life when you visit wildgrain.com/majority, or you can use the promo code majority at checkout. Go visit the site, look at the offerings. I'm telling you, it is all delicious and super, super easy to bake. You just pop them in the oven. Also sponsoring the program today, Shopify. I've told the story a million times by this point. When I started the podcast, I had so much to do. It was crazy. We had a very, very small staff, and people were like, so do a merch store. And I'm like, I can't do a merch store. It's going to be too much trouble. It's going to be a huge pain in the butt. But then we found a Shopify, and it is the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything. That can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Yes. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world. 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., from household names to brands just getting started. The beauty of our Shopify site, if we come up with an idea, it's there in just like, as soon as we can design the idea, it's there. We've got, it integrates with YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. And it also integrates with in real world, in real life sales. So if we sell merch at a live show, we don't have to have 2 sets of books, essentially. It all integrates. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling and strolling now with Shopify. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. This thing is turnkey. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into Shopify. With Shopify on your side, sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/majority. Go to shopify.com/majority, shopify.com/majority. All of those links will be in the podcast and YouTube description. Quick break. When we come back, José Luis Granados Ceja will be with us. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigland on the Majority Report, really the first for 2026. Want to welcome back to the program José Luis Granados Ceja, recently joining Drop Site. And congratulations to you, but also to them. It's a great addition.
Thank you very much.
I imagine you've been busy for the past couple of days. It is sort of hard to start because there seems to be this sort of pretense that, there is this pretense in the mainstream media, it seems, that like we're supposed to take it seriously, that Maduro's cooing, I guess, and maybe you can expand on exactly how we should view this, is a function of his drug running. And it seems almost silly to me to take that at face value, but some people still do. But from your perspective, like how would you describe what we have seen? How much of it is an internal coup? How much of it is an overthrow or regime change? Walk us through that.
Yeah, I think the best way to understand this is that this was a kidnapping. It was the kidnapping of a sitting head of state of a sovereign nation that implied a military operation with foreign boots on the ground inside of Venezuela, with dozens of casualties of Venezuelans, but also the Cuban security forces that had been providing assistance. This is a regime change effort. This is extraordinary, of course. This is something that, while it was in a way always a possibility, did come as a surprise. And the aim is precisely this. And the way that things have played out over the last few days, I think kind of affirmed that, which is that there were very strong interests inside of the Trump White House to do something with Maduro in particular. There was almost an animosity, a personalized animosity. And of course, I think here we should underline Marco Rubio's kind of fervent drive to kind of oust anybody who's ever aggrieved him in any way. And I think that helps explain this. It seems like the United States thinks that it can use its military might, its coercive power, this illegal Navy blockade that it has imposed on Venezuela, to try to force the acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, the executive vice president, to do their bidding. But it's going to be a very, very difficult situation if they think that that's the way it's going to go.
But do we have a sense of what their bidding is? I mean, that's the part that seems so sort of like odd, because you have kidnapped Maduro ostensibly because you want regime change, but it doesn't really feel like it's regime change. I mean, I'm looking at a Miami Herald piece from October, and the Maduro regime, or at least with Maduro's a blessing, offered almost this, what seems to be the outcome we have right now. The only difference is Maduro would live in Qatar or live in, like, I think it was Turkey. Yeah. I mean, so like, what are we to make of this, and what's your sense, I guess, within the administration, how unified are the administration members about this outcome?
So if we look at, and we assume that this report is accurate, it's not exactly clear what they were promising, but let's take it at face value and say that the Venezuelan government at one point, led by Nicolás Maduro in the moment, was promising basically this situation, a soft transition, Chavismo stays in power, there actually isn't regime change, and there actually is an investment in Venezuela's oil industry. Venezuela's oil industry continues to play a very, very important part of that, but it's suffered a lot. In that sense, Trump is actually correct. The unilateral coercive measures campaign, the sanctions as they're commonly called, has really punished that industry. It used to produce, between 2.5, 3 million barrels a day. Today, it's less than a million. So it requires a massive investment, and Venezuela had been seeking investment in that sense to kind of rebuild the capacity for this, but under their terms, as any other state would, right? Which is, if you want to invest in this country, you're more than willing to, but follow the rules here. And there were even enterprises, U.S. enterprises, that did it. We know Chevron has always had a presence there. Others, ExxonMobil is the first one that comes to mind, but definitely had a much bigger issue with the Chavismo power in Venezuela, and decided to exit, and has been working more closely with Guyana, for example. But I think a lot of it is sort of the neo-colonial drive of the United States right now with Donald Trump, which is that they don't really care as long as they have access to the resources. This is really the key question that's driving everything. That this is why we're the renewed interest of the United States and Latin America more broadly, because this is a region that they view as their backyard. It's a term I find odious, but that's their attitude. And they want to make sure that they can have access to the resources and cheap labor and pliant governments by any means necessary. And in this case, trying to get Delcy to do what they want them to do by threatening to kidnap or assassinate her. I mean, that's not really how foreign policy is understood to be exercised, but this is the reality. It's about control of resources.
But to answer maybe Sam's kind of question about it, like, why not just do this in the way that gives Maduro this exit? I think the answer is the perp walk that we've been seeing, where this is an explicit desire to humiliate him. There was news this morning that Stephen Miller is going to play an increased role in Venezuela policy, so this sounds exactly like him. But it's the South Florida delegation, these lawmakers here, of which obviously Marco Rubio comes out of Florida as a senator, the animosity you described, the desire to humiliate him, seemed to be at the top of their minds. But Trump as well probably wanted this because he was unable to provoke Maduro into responding with these boat strikes. And this makes him look like the big tough guy. That kind of seems to be the answer, right?
I think you're onto something there. Absolutely. We know Trump. We know he, for example, took down the picture of Joe Biden in the White House hallway there. It's that kind of really deep animosity that he seems to want to precisely produce these kinds of scenes. I also think the United States, under his leadership, also painted itself into a corner. There was these really aggressive postures. We saw that Maduro and the Venezuelan government was not willing to cede much other than what we've already heard from these leaked reports. And so what was the exit here? There was something was going to give, and it seems like they settled on this one. Let's, send a signal, show them that we still are the most powerful military on the planet, that have the capacity, the technological capacity, I think in particular was interesting in this case, to do what they just did, which is kidnap a president, and also to humiliate him, to try to parade him as they have, as a sign of their power in the region. And so I think there's also a message being sent to the rest of Latin America through these actions, not just to Delcy Rodriguez, but he's already threatened Cuba, Colombia. He seems to be suggesting that he wants something in Mexico as well. So I think a lot of this is also about the projection of power in the Trump era. We know that Trump got rid of US aid. Soft power is not really a thing anymore. This is how the United States wants to conduct business in this hemisphere.
And I asked you a long question. So the first part of it, too, the role of the South Florida delegation, if you don't mind expanding on that. Yeah,
absolutely. So, in fact, there was actually a report that the United States was interested in some kind of military action relating to what they call narco-terrorism, and they actually wanted to start in Mexico. And the reason they decided to start doing these extrajudicial executions in the Caribbean was to appease that same Florida lobby, that the Gusano lobby there, who were frustrated that Trump was refusing to cancel Chevron's license. And so this was kind of the offering for that group of representatives, because it all happened in the context of the debates around the big, beautiful bill, to be able to get their support. So they leveraged their influence in order to be able to see something happen on Venezuela, and they're very much a big part of what's driving this. The interesting thing, although, is that they're very much aligned with this hardline radical opposition, which is led by Maria Corina Machado, and we've seen that Trump has basically kind of written her off. In a way, I'm almost appreciative of what he said about her, because that's actually something I've been saying for a while now. She was obviously a popular figure today, but historically was always a marginal figure. And there is an acknowledgement, even inside of Venezuela, but also now inside of the White House, that she just doesn't have the capacity to try to actually take over the country.
Yeah, she's the Venezuelan Ahmed Chalabi, right? A little bit. I saw people were joking about that on Twitter, but go on, Sam.
What is your thoughts in terms of whether Rodriguez was involved in helping or providing information or, subsidiary to her? It was a clean kidnapping. And theoretically, it could have been there was a CIA spy amongst Maduro's, entourage. But it also sort of feels like maybe Rodriguez had more awareness of what was happening, and that, this is just my, projection, that when she says, Maduro's the real president here, it's sort of like providing some lip service.
So I think it's difficult to come to that conclusion now that more information has come out. It was clean in the sense that there were no deaths on the U.S. side, although there were injuries, there were some casualties, but it sounds like a bloodbath in order to actually capture Maduro. It wasn't as clean. They certainly knew where he was, and it seems like that was provided by intelligence, CIA intelligence, that had obviously been active in Venezuela. They never really left, but they had become more active more recently with Trump's order a few months ago. And I think the fact that there was a lot of people killed, including, as we just saw confirmed by the Cuban president, 32 Cubans. Because of the difficult situation in Venezuela, Maduro's inner circle was, the security for it was provided by Cubans who they trusted to a higher degree, and 32 of them were killed. So there was clearly a very intense gun battle at some point. Later on, we also saw some images of them using anti-aircraft weaponry. There was also images immediately afterwards of the bombing of the missile batteries, the air defense that Venezuela had. So this was a fight. It wasn't as clean as I think they tried to tell us it was. And in terms of Delcy being in on this, she's always been a key player in Chavismo. She's a part of the inner circle. It's her brother Jorge, who's the head of the National Assembly, Diosdado Cabello, and Vladimir Padrino. They are the big wigs in Venezuela. And, Maduro managed to kind of keep all of these different coalition representatives together. That's the challenge that I think Delcy is facing now, of kind of keeping stability in the country. But she was always part of the inner circle. I would find it very surprising that she would rise to the level of betrayal, because it also, the population itself would see that as a betrayal, and that would mean that she's undermining her own base of support inside of the country, which is a risk that I don't think she's able or willing to take.
So let's say that this is the Trump administration. Obviously, it sounds like part of it is just like there were sort of resentments that Maduro was not coming to heel and was, dancing in a way that may have been mocking Trump. But to what extent, if what they want is essentially to throw open Venezuelan oil assets to American corporations and to just function under the auspices of the United States, and we can get into the sort of the whole Donroe doctrine, as Trump seems to be calling it, but to what extent does Rodriguez have to actually deliver what the Trump administration wants? Because my understanding is that there's enough weapons and armed members of the colectivos, maybe, you know, former FARC members, other guerrilla units, like throughout the country, that even if the, Rodriguez said, yes, okay, you guys go to town, that's not going to be frictionless.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And so that's why they're kind of the present situation before us is, will there be stability? Will there be continuity? Will the territory be a single united piece of a country? I mean, there are lots of elements here that can start to kind of undermine the integrity of Venezuela as a nation. And that's really quite the dangerous thing. I think Delcy has to be understood that she's doing everything with quite literally a gun pointed at her head right now. I mean, and I think the fact that we saw the United States willing to kidnap Maduro tells us that they're probably willing to do at least that to her. It feels to me like they've actually threatened her life repeatedly. They're talking about how they have a second wave ready to go. And I do think there has to be a consideration made for as well, which is about the safety of the Venezuelan population. I mean, it was really frightening, I think is the word, to see the way that how effective that campaign was in the early morning of Saturday. The Venezuela's defense strategy is one that's called the war of all the people. So there's a deep integration with the civilian population as well. But it all happened so fast that there wasn't even a possibility of activating all of that. But those do exist. And you're right, a lot of them are autonomous, and they're the grassroots revolutionary collectives, which are armed, also wouldn't tolerate something that they view as a betrayal, which would lead to a very tricky situation for the government, which is right now basically trying to ensure continuity and that the territory is respected, at least to the degree given the conditions that are existing right now.
I mean, the United States, from my understanding, has anywhere from like 10 to 15,000 troops on, I don't know, close to a dozen warships in the area. I think somewhere around 10,000 Marines I've heard, which does not seem nearly enough to do anything on the ground if the idea is that we have to secure these different oil fields and these different sort of transportation lines. And particularly if there's this sense of like, this is no longer an internecine battle within Venezuela, but rather we're protecting our national sovereignty. Like, I'm not clear on what the next step is here. Like even like, Trump says he wants the oil. Okay, well, now what? Like, Rodriguez just says, okay, all this oil is going to go, Exxon's going to be in charge again, and they're going to decide where the oil goes. And then what's supposed to happen? Because I would imagine it would be within days. You start to see, like, I don't know, pipelines, trains, oil rigs blown up.
Yeah, I sympathize with your confusion because it's not clear. It's not obvious, because if they're talking about controlling Venezuela's oil fields, that requires an occupation. We should be clear about that. That when they talk about having access to oil freely in that sense, there is no scenario that doesn't require U.S. troops protecting those installations or the piece of territory that they've carved out, which obviously would be subject to regular sabotage and actions and military clashes, most likely. So it's not clear either to me in terms of how they actually think they can exercise this control. Not to mention that there is a lot of international voices. There was a really important communique from Mexico, Colombia, Brazil, and Spain, Uruguay was also signed on, saying that this is in contrary to international law. You cannot exert control in the way that you're proposing. I saw Marco Rubio on the Sunday talk shows, again, struggling to really be able to explain what they actually mean by being in charge. It sounds like they think they can just coerce or force or threaten Delcy Rodriguez to do everything. But as we just finished explaining, that also is not super clear in terms of how effective it can actually be given the reality of Venezuela.
Is it possible there's like a third thing that we don't know about? Like, I don't know, there's some, I mean, I'm trying to expand my imagination here, because it just does not seem, even to someone like myself who does not know anything about Venezuela, materially speaking, that there's no plan here. Like, you can't, she's not capable of delivering what they say that they are after. And it's as if, like, in fact, what it really is, it's like, some, I don't know, Ocean 11's thing where it's like, there's $1 billion worth of gold sitting in a locker somewhere, and all you got to do is really deliver that to Donald Jr., and then we're all good. I mean, like, could there be any other? I mean, we've got, like, set an example for the rest of the hemisphere. I mean, including Greenland, I guess, as to what the United States is willing to do, but that's not going to work in the vast majority of these countries. I think in terms of, even as an intimidation tactic, it doesn't seem like there's any actual way to deliver, even if Rodriguez wanted to say, again, our oil is yours. It's not really hers she doesn't get to choose that. I can't, it just doesn't make any sense, because at one point, people are going to say, justify why you've got, spending millions of dollars on sending troops and ships down there.
Yeah. And he also talks openly about boots on the ground when he had talked about avoiding another kind of military conflict abroad. So I think really they are struggling to figure out a way to make sense of this. There is one possibility, which is that Venezuelan leadership finds a way of explaining this in a way that is palatable. Because, of course, the number one issue for Venezuela has been the unilateral coercion measures, the sanctions, the blockade, the fact that they can't actually sell their oil in a normal way in the international market because of the dominance of the US dollar and the power of the US Navy and able to kind of enforce that blockade worldwide. We saw them just chase the ship throughout the world trying to seize it. So if there's a way for Venezuela to feel like they can finally get this noose off their neck, to actually see their economy recover in a serious way by no longer being subjected to this, it's possible that that may be enough for the Venezuelan population to say, okay, we will tolerate this over the short term because at least we still have our government in place and our project is still there. The Venezuelan project, I think certainly in a lot of ways is very much emphasized on, using the country's oil wealth to spread the wealth around, but there isn't a lot of that right now to spread around because of the years-long campaign. But there are other elements to it, right? Like there was also the commune project inside of Venezuela. These are the kind of autonomous, self-governed territories that also have their own interests in terms of how they envision a future for the country, in some ways in cooperation with the state, but in sometimes also in opposition to it. So, there is still a lot more that can happen here. And I think most people are thinking mostly about how to continue to have some kind of stability in terms of their day-to-day lives, to make sure that food can still show up on the table at the end of the day, that the bombs aren't going to start falling whenever the United States feels like it.
You mentioned, some of those factions, and then earlier in our conversation, we spoke a little bit about, some guerrilla groups and other more militant groups within Venezuela. What's your sense of where they stand here? Is it possible that they could be empowered by the United States, an obviously well-worn tactic of the U.S. in this region and in others?
Yeah, there was a lot of support from the United States for some of these insurrectionary groups that we saw, the guarimbas, that may be a term you've heard before, these violent protests where they would take over the streets, and that there's definitely a lot of support from U.S. intelligence agencies, and there's obviously been a lot of diplomatic support before the embassy was, before the United States left its embassy there, providing support to the political opposition there, which embrace many of these kinds of tactics. But I think in terms of sort of the autonomous grassroots self-defense organization, some of these former elements from armed resistance groups in Latin America, like the FARC, the ELN is also active in the border region with Colombia. I think all of them understand right now that the moment is demanding unity. And we're seeing that also from, important organizations, for example, one in Caracas, the Fuerza Patriótica Alexis Vive, which is a radical organization. It is a hardline communist organization that does have self-defense capacities. And they've been clear, right? The moment right now is national unity. We have to defend our national sovereignty. The demand is the return of Nicolás Maduro. I don't anticipate that changing in the short term. I think they understand that the moment and the call from the leadership of Chavismo has been, for example, from Diosdado Cabello, don't fall into these traps, don't fall for the psychological warfare. Their aim is to divide us. We have to stay united. And I do think that certainly over the short and medium term, that's what we're going to see. It all really depends on what the acting president does. And if they feel like she crosses a line, well, that will definitely change the scenario.
And we hear a lot in the Western press about how unpopular Maduro is. What's the actual reality?
Certainly in the diaspora, he's not popular. And I've seen some reports of people celebrating, in Miami and places like that. But inside Venezuela, it's curious. There hasn't actually been a lot of noise from the opposition. Certainly no voices really kind of crying out. There may have been spontaneous elements. If anything, what we've seen is the population, the hardcore base of Chavismo taking out to the streets immediately. I was in touch with my colleagues there in Venezuela the morning of, and they headed to Miraflores, the presidential palace, and there was already, hundreds, if not thousands of people there who were assembling. And so, I saw recently Chris Gilbert, who also lives in Venezuela, talking on a podcast about how, there was a call to do a cacerolazo. That's when they bang pots and pans at a certain hour as a protest, right? It emerged actually during Chile's dictatorship as a protest against the dictatorship there. And it didn't manifest. There actually wasn't the so-called cacerolazo that night. So there, you would think that if Maduro was as reviled as we had been told, that they would have taken this moment to manifest their disagreement or their support for his ouster. And yet there actually hasn't been that much noise from the formal political opposition or even spontaneously. Like I said, if anything, it's been to the contrary. What we've seen is the population mobilizing. And I think that's clear because, here in Latin America, there has been many instances of U.S. intervention directly through its armed forces. And always that has not been viewed, even in cases where you would seem like they were acting in favor of popular interests. I think about, for example, the occupation of the port of Veracruz here in Mexico in protest against the coup against Madero during the Mexican Revolution. The revolutionaries in Mexico rejected that because it wasn't seen as an act against the coup plotter who had just taken power, but an act against the nation. And I think in Venezuela, that's also the case right now, that this isn't an attack on Maduro. This isn't an attack on the government of Venezuela. This is an attack on the nation itself. And that's why you will see that people are reluctant to be seen as celebrating that, especially those who are inside the country, less so outside.
So as you're looking at this, what do you have I'm so baffled by this. It's just, I just can't for the life of me figure out what they think that they're doing. Because either, people just stop paying attention, which seems, that's not inconceivable. We move on to the next thing by Thursday of this week. And, whatever it is, there's 12 ships out, outside of Greenland or something. But what are you looking for next in terms of getting a sense of where this is going? Because again, it seems like Rodriguez can say okay, you can have the oil and then just stand back and let all of these different autonomous guerrilla fighters make it very, very difficult for any of this to happen. It's going to take a lot more than 10,000 troops. And I have a feeling, no Exxon officials are going to go deep into the country and subject themselves to some type of threat. So what What is it that we should be looking for that might give us an indication as to where this is headed?
So if they take any action against Rodriguez, I think that's the key thing. If it's not just a threat, if it's not an empty threat, if they actually do try to intimidate her with violence or with a kidnapping. We can't also, underestimate the role of the hapless opposition here. Trump talking about Maria Corina Machado the way that he did, I think is also important. The U.S. has relied a lot on its contacts in the Venezuelan opposition, and they've been burned by them many times before. That's why they don't really trust them. They probably don't trust them to be able to actually take over the country, and the interest is the resources. And here I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb here. I think really we should watch to see what happens in West Asia and what happens in the rest of the world. This could actually, in fact, be a prelude to a broader conflict that is going to put energy supplies in question because of the role of the oil producers in West Asia. And I think that the sense is that we have to have some kind of a reserve, somewhere we can turn to really rapidly increase oil production in the event of a broader, more serious global conflict. And I think that part is also important to pay attention to, and maybe also in terms of an indication of what they want to do here in the region as well. Venezuela is not the only country that has a lot of energy resources.
Well, Netanyahu spent New Year's Eve at Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump. I mean, there's a lot of theories that are floating around about that, and we've been hearing a lot about, obviously Iran hawkery in the recent weeks as well. I think, like, to me, and Sam and I were talking about this before the show, a lot of this foreign policy, this bloodthirsty foreign policy, obviously by the Trump administration, is still this recognition of a transition to a multipolar world. And it's almost as if Trump's like, this is the Western Hemisphere, that's ours. So we got the Monroe Doctrine. I mean, he misreads the Monroe Doctrine, which was about keeping the Europe out of the Western Hemisphere, and Monroe basically saying, like, this is ours to colonize. But, I mean, I guess that's somewhat true in this instance, too, where it's like, Putin, do what you want in Ukraine. We're not really that interested. I mean, the weapons manufacturers are happy if we're selling Ukraine arms, but, like, he's clearly bored of doing those peace negotiations. Xi, do your thing over there. This is going to be ours. And that history of action and colonization in the Western Hemisphere, in Latin America, like, my whole lifetime it's been focused on the Middle East, but it's actually quite much longer and richer and incredibly bloody. When you look at the full history of the United States, there is a hundreds of years of this.
That's absolutely right. I have been putting forward the hypothesis that this is indeed a strategic retreat into their traditional sphere of influence. I think the national security strategy is basically a confession saying that we understand that we do live in a multipolar world, that there is a peer rival in China, and that we actually, as the U.S. here, I'm talking about the U.S., can actually compete in this moment. And so that they have to kind of take this strategic retreat to try to shore up its access to resources, to have supportive governments as its neighbors, in order to then, in a future moment, be able to dispute global hegemony with China. That was their goal. They said it previously after the fall, at the end of the Cold War, saying we want total spectrum dominance. They couldn't achieve it. Instead, China rose and filled and is effectively a superpower to compete with the United States.
Right.
Marco Rubio, who again, he's not just Secretary of State, he's also National Security Advisor, has said as much. We live in a multipolar world. We have to operate under that sense. And so I do think a lot of this is also about figuring out how far their reach can actually be. And does it make more sense to have a stronger presence, to exert the U.S. military power, to intervene directly in places that are closer to home? And so that's why Latin America is in the crosshairs. Another important element there, of course, is that Latin America is in dispute. This is a continent that has gone through a lot of waves of progressive, leftist, even revolutionary leadership that obviously is going to resist these efforts by the United States to try to impose that dominance over Latin America. There can be cooperation, there can be trade, there can be commerce, but what the United States wants dominance. And if that's what they're proposing, then they're going to be met with a lot of resistance here. And it is a very troublesome sign in terms of what's going to come. There's, like I said, he's already threatened several other countries. What's going to happen? We've already seen direct, blatant, flagrant interference in elections in Honduras, in elections in Argentina. So this Latin America and the Caribbean in particular need to be prepared for what's about to come.
What do you make of the response of the Russians and the rest of the world to what we've done? I'm looking at, I've got two. I've got Alexander Jojic, who is a former assistant professor at RUDN Moscow, writes on X, pro-Kremlin Telegram channels and media widely shared an archived 2020 video of Vladimir Zhirinovsky, who was a former leader of, he's since passed, but a right-wing party in Russia, suggesting that Trump could take Venezuela while Russia takes Ukraine. And testimony from Fiona Hill back in 2019. She said the Russians at this particular juncture were signaling very strongly they wanted to somehow make some very strange swap arrangement between Venezuela and Ukraine. Essentially, you want us out of your backyard, we want you out of our backyard, again, to use that term. But what do you make of the response, the international response to this? And if that's sort of like, the idea being, I mean, for Russia, it makes total sense. We want to solidify what we have in this region and reestablish ourselves in a multipolar world. I can also understand like Trump's just anti-Obama, tick, essentially, because Obama had the whole pivot to the Pacific where he was going to challenge China and doing it through trade and whatnot, and perhaps, all of our naval assets moving to the Pacific. Like, what's your read in terms of the response that of things that generally happen in Venezuela from these other countries?
Yeah, there's probably some of these kind of big player chess moves happening without a doubt, and people trying to take advantage of the situation or at least present something like this, But we have to remember also Venezuela had a very deep, long diplomatic relationship, economic relationship with both Russia and China, who are major world players. China in particular, I think, is important. They had an all-weather diplomatic relationship, which is the highest level there is when it comes to China. The only Latin American country to have that is Venezuela. And China's statement, I think, was actually really telling. They're always very cautious. They're very careful, even in the tariff disputes, to kind of, say something that goes a step too far that might, be read as offensive. They were unequivocal in their condemnation, calling for Maduro to be released. And so that's a reflection of the very deep relationship that China does have. I mean, the special envoy was in Caracas when this raid happened. So it tells you that this is also an important element here in terms of, what's going to happen next. On the international reaction, one thing I did want to say is that, unfortunately, I think the lack of a pushback to the extrajudicial executions in and around South America led us to this moment. I think there needed to be a much stronger condemnation from multilateral organizations, from individual member states, from countries, from blocs. We couldn't even get the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States to say anything about this really concretely, to say that, no, you can't kill people on alleged drug smuggling boats the way that they did. And so they felt emboldened. And if there
we couldn't get democratic theoretically opposition leaders in this country to say anything about it.
Exactly. Yeah. And they barely can muster anything about this now. You're like, oh, Maduro was a monster, but what we did wasn't allowed. Why didn't they ask Congress? That can't be the response. The response has to be overwhelming rejection of a very evident violation of international law. I know it's not worth much. We all watched a genocide happen in real time against the Palestinian people, but that doesn't mean that it's not correct to continue to insist that the demand be respect for international law. The first statement coming from the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, was really weak. He issued another one today, slightly stronger, but still, it has to be unequivocal, emphatically, a denunciation of U.S. actions. I'd also be curious to see how even the U.S. justice system is going to respond to this. I mean, can you really prosecute somebody who was detained illegally? I mean, the United States does not have law enforcement jurisdiction in Venezuela. And so, you know, I know it's happening right now. I think it's just kind of a formality at this point, but these are also important questions. You know, your republic is in danger as well. The division of powers inside the United States are also under question now. If they allow this to happen, so they're basically giving a green light to these extraterritorial actions. And I would hope that the judicial branch of government inside of the United States is also willing to exercise its authority here and clearly say what happened. This was an illegal detention.
I mean, you're absolutely right that like the statements about how he needs to have asked Congress first are so, you know, lukewarm and not necessary. I mean, you can compare Chris Van Hollen and AOC speaking about this as imperialism, talking about oil, versus how Schumer and Jeffries are reacting to it. But I do want to address that because it is like a major concern to have the Trump administration completely neutering the legislature. And we've seen that the Republicans have aided in this with across a variety of different issues, like the rescission issue that Trump, you know, is trying to basically say, Congress, you can pass a budget, but I may decide whether or not I'm going to even spend it. And the Republicans participated in neutering their own body to appease Donald Trump. On issues of war, I mean, this is just like so far past any kind of like, you know, reasonable read of the Constitution at this point. Rubio is saying that this was a law enforcement operation to bring him in on drug charges. And that is how they're trying to get around the fact that this was an act of war. Although the bombings that they did, I don't know how they're justifying that to Congress, by the way. But regardless, the kidnapping, at least, they're saying was a law enforcement operation. Can you just expand on that notion? Because that's a major constitutional challenge, obviously.
Absolutely. And, you know, we saw these bipartisan resolutions, war powers resolutions presented to both houses of Congress. They didn't pass, but by the slimmest of, you know, of differences. And that's because Rubio and Hegseth and other people from the Department of Justice and the Department of Defense went and basically lied to the lawmaker, saying, no, we're not going to war. And they maintain that lie now, saying that this is a law enforcement operation, but precisely that, because that's the only way they can sustain this lie that they did to the lawmakers. And I think, you know, if I was a representative, I would take great offense to that. They're basically laughing at you in your face, saying, we're going to, you know, bald-faced lie and say we're not going to engage in this action. And you're correct. I mean, there is no world where what the United States did isn't an act of aggression, isn't an act of war. I mean, like I said, dozens of casualties, civilians as well were killed. You know, there was reports of a storage facility for medical supplies that was hit that had nothing to do with military infrastructure. And so those are acts of war and conceivably should be part of an accountability process to Congress, which is constitutionally the only body that's authorized to do war.
Well, José Luis Granados Ceja, reporting for Drop Site News. Thanks so much for your time today. We'll be in touch. I guess it's really sort of anybody's guess what happens from here, but we'll obviously be watching it. Thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and thank you for reporting on this because there's a lot to unpack still.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right, folks. That's it for the first free show of 2026. Want to special thanks to Henry, who gave us all a New Year's goodie bag.
Yes, we won't show it on air, but it's smokable.
Some of it's edible. Some of it's cookable.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to make that. That sounds bad.
I'm going to enjoy this tonight.
Good for you for waiting. I think Matt is actually
where did
ran
Matt
off
go?
and he's digging in right now.
He's selling his bag on the street.
No, the fire alarm just starts going off.
Folks, just a reminder, it is your support. And I want to take this time to thank all of our members so much. We can't do this without you. And it's both just, I mean, we all, you know, when you travel, you end up running into people who are fans of the show. It's incredibly gratifying. People are so nice and so appreciative that it's almost like embarrassing.
I get embarrassed, yes.
But I'm not very good at being, thankful or grateful.
Schmaltzy.
Whatever it is. But I want to thank our members. Really appreciate both the support for the show and just you giving us the ability to do this day in, day out. So thank you very much to our members. And if you want to become one, you can by going to jointhemajority.report.com. When you do, you not only get the free show free of commercials, but like I say, you help us survive and thrive. And it's a new year, 2026. Started off with a new potential war, I guess, and quagmire.
I was like talking to a friend and they were like, I have a really good feeling about this year. And then I checked my phone after checking that text and it's like U.S. bombs Venezuela.
Was your friend the person who put the Polymarket bet down on Maduro being out?
Oh, yeah. We are going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. But anyway, yeah. No, it at least 2025 is over. We'll say that.
Saying that since like 2016.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to know how my gift of a segment of the show went over. I will talk about that in the fun half. Again, jointhemajority.report.com. Also, don't forget justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee. It's a co-op. They're movement partners, and they have great coffee. You can get single origin or blends. You can get the Majority Report blend. Justcoffee.coop. Use the coupon code majority. You get 10% off. Matt, what's happening with in the Matt Leck podcast universe?
Yeah, we've been on a break for a nice little break for the last couple of weeks, but returning tomorrow, Left Reckoning, Nick Estes talking about America's ability to point guns at people. Check that out, patreon.com/Left Reckoning.
And did you want to talk about that?
Yes. I also wanted to plug this because speaking of Left Reckoning, I am going to be moderating the launch of one David Griscom's book in New York City. I'm very honored that he asked me. And I'm reading it right now. It's really phenomenal. It's going to be on Wednesday, February 25th. And it's in, I think, Lower East Side.
I don't have that info off the top of my head, but the book is The Myth of Red Texas, Cowboys, Populism, and Class War in the Radical South. So, yeah, he's been working on that for, for a couple of years now. So
yes, it's great. I'm reading it right now. We have the link to the Eventbrite thing, right? Yeah. So this is where you can get tickets to see it. February 25th.
Where's this at?
I'll send it right now. February 25th, if you can come, it's here in New York City. The Myth of Red Texas is the book. And yes, it's on Avenue C. So.
Well, we got 7 weeks. We got 7
Okay,
weeks.
all right.
Put
Well,
it in the show notes. Yeah.
it's in the show notes. Okay.
People, heads up for it.
Okay, all right.
All right. See you in the fun half. Left is best. Jamie and I may have a disagreement.
Yeah, you can't just say whatever you want about people just because you're rich.
I have an absolute right to mock them on YouTube.
He's up there buggy whipping like he's the boss.
I am not your employer.
You know, I'm tired of the negativity.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. You're nervous. You're a little bit upset. You're riled up.
Yeah, maybe you should rethink your defense of that, you fucking idiots.
We're just going to get rid of you.
All right.
But dude, you want to smoke this joint?
Yes.
Do you feel like you are a dinosaur?
Some good shit.
Exactly. I'm happy now.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win.
Oh, hell yeah.
Now listen to me. 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 847-906-501-457. 2, 38, 56, 27. 1/2. 5 eighths. 3.9 billion.
Wow.
He's the ultimate math nerd.
Don't you see?
Why don't you get a real job instead of spewing vitriol and hatred, you left-wing Limbaugh?
Everybody's taking their dumb juice today.
Come on, Sammy.
Dance, dance, dance.
Ooh.
Rand Paul. I had my first post-coital scene with a woman. I'm hoping to add more moves to my repertoire. All I have is the dip and the swirl.
Fine, we can double dip.
Yes, this is a perfect moment.
No.
Wait, what?
You make under $1 million a year. You're scum. You're nothing.
Excuse me? Fuck you, you fucking liberal elite. I think you belong in jail.
Thank you for saying that, Sam. You're a horrible, despicable person.
All right, gonna take a quick break. I want to take a moment to talk to some of the libertarians out there. Take whatever vehicle you want to drive to the library. What you're talking about is jibber jabber.
Classic. I'm feeling more chill already.
Good. Donald Trump can kiss all of our asses.
Hey, Sam. Hey, Andy. You guys ready to do some evil?
Hitler was such an idiot.
That guy might be a Nazi.
Agree.
No.
Death to America.
You.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow, that's weird. No way! Unbelievable. This guy's got a really good hook.
Throw our hands up.
Ooh.
Wow.
But Sam, I gotta get off.
No worries. Let's. I want to just flesh this out a little bit. I mean, look, it's a free speech issue. If you don't like me,
Hey, shut up.
Thank you for calling into the Majority Report. Sam will be with you shortly.
we are back. It is the fun half, ladies and gentlemen. The first fun half of 2026. How many shows will we do in 2026?
I don't know.
250 or something like that.
We need somebody on staff who has the ability to do math.
Yeah, no,
that's what we need. I wonder if I can Google it.
I literally failed math so bad that I got like kicked out of my school and had to go to like a bad kid high school just to catch up.
There's 261 weekdays and
okay, so 261 weekdays.
We probably won't be doing all those.
So we won't be doing all of them because we'll take.
The 250 was the right guess.
250 was a good guess.
But 250 shows this year. How many shows, Matt, have we done?
Depends if you trust the numbers at the beginning of the podcast.
He's saying that we didn't. Yeah, because
I'm going to go back and recheck those.
Michael was in charge of probably labeling them, and it was like we probably had like 450s or something.
Or in like the 3,000s.
Yeah, done over 3,000 shows.
Speaking of Michael, there was a cool little clip of him going around social media this morning. I reposted it if people want to check out my Instagram on it, but of him talking about Venezuela. So that might be worthwhile going back in the TMBS archives and looking at how he covered Venezuela.
I got to get on this whole Instagram thing.
You are on it. I mean,
I know.
Follow me.
I got. Brian's supposed to teach me how to,
post.
Post or
collaborate.
Collaborate, or what's that thing where you do you got a bunch of tiny little clips
stories
that you keep adding to it. Yeah.
Well, I got, I'm more on Instagram now because after Elon bought Twitter, it was also after October 7th where I just wanted to rage post all the time. But when Elon bought Twitter, it's like, that's just, what is even tweeting it? There's nothing. There's no discourse happening.
Twitter is dying. I actually getting my new PC. I spend less time on my phone. I realized I spent no time on Twitter on the weekend, and I'm like, oh, that was kind of nice.
Right.
Not
because it was all video games.
It was all just playing pure video games.
Yep.
It's good to be present.
Okay.
Good to get off the small screen and get on the big one.
Kids should do that.
My son is there. I got him a controller for. Actually, he bought it himself. He got some cash for the holiday and wanted a PlayStation style controller for his PC games. And now he's playing a skateboarding game, and that.
Oh, I bet
that stuff is wild.
Games, yeah.
Sam's greased up calves, 261 weekdays, 11 federal holidays, and then 5 or so best of gives 245 shows in 2026. I don't think we take all 11 federal holidays, though.
We don't. We don't take President's Day, right? we'll take Indigenous Peoples Day.
We do take Indigenous Peoples Day.
And MLK Day, right?
And MLK Day. And Labor Day we take.
The ones we respect.
And Memorial, right. And I have a PhD in physics and will happily be the show's math consultant pro bono.
Oh.
That was pretty good. I mean, that's...
that was fast.
Somebody asked how, let's see, Bjarn from Denmark. So Sam predicted before the New Year's an attack on Venezuela. In my ancestral culture, we listened to Valvin, an old woman with the sight. But a bearded Jewish dude is just as good as a Norse lady throwing the rune staves. I feel like everybody sort of had predicted that, right? The Venezuela thing?
I mean,
Yeah.
those boats aren't there for no reason.
I know. I guess I still was a little taken aback. I mean, the kidnapping of Maduro
I
was
mean, apparently Maduro was too.
and the fact that they bombed Caracas.
Yeah.
Like, it was immensely escalatory. I would think I was shocked at how horrific the news was.
I would have probably been sleeping in the safe room if I was Maduro, though.
Yeah, it's sort of surprising. You'd be a little bit more, but I guess we'll know more as things come out. Also, people asked how my gift went.
Oh, yes.
That we recorded here. And I'm not going to go into the details of it, but all I can say is that my girlfriend and I missed our flight.
Right.
And it was a total shit show in more ways than one. Like literally the dogs decided to evacuate their bowels on my luggage as a way of like sort of putting a finer point on the entire experience. Like we got back and we ended up abandoning the trip. And so I sent the little Etsy version of the wood thing I wanted to make with a QR code. And I saw a video of him watching the video. And
Okay.
he was he enjoyed it very much.
Good.
So thank you all for your service. Let's go to Chuck Schumer. You put that in that. We should check in with Chuck Schumer, who is the opposition leader.
Can I tell a quick story about it? Because I saw him at the inauguration and it was amazing. I was using my phone to zoom in on his face to see how he was reacting. And when just seeing him in the background of AOC's speech, I'm like, look into your future, dude. Like, he wasn't clapping. The whole front row was Bernie and Jane Sanders smiling, AOC smiling, even Kathy Hochul's on board. And Chuck's just sitting there, like, completely looking like, his career is passing him by, and that should be the case,
And here he is. Of course, we have now. He was not Senate leader during Iraq, but he certainly was in the Senate during that time. And here he is watching the President of the United States engage in an illegal invasion, I guess, not necessarily occupation, but certainly an illegal invasion of a country to kidnap the leader of that country, regardless of whether you think, whether Chuck Schumer thinks that he is legitimate or not. There's still national sovereignty. And it's unclear, again, like what the theory, like what's supposed to happen now. And Chuck Schumer was just so angry. You're not going to believe this blistering barrage. Everybody, put on your safety goggles for this one.
And we have the War Powers Act, which you mentioned.
Right.
I have the right to put that on the floor. Tim Kaine is the sponsor, along with myself and Rand Paul, so it's bipartisan to a degree. And the Republicans must, if there was ever a time they must step up to the plate, this is the time. And they're going to, if they don't, they're going to feel the heat from their constituents.
You're talking about the American...
Whoa!
It's great how he's never has to be active in any of these plans about how he's going to succeed.
Remember the disastrous Chris Hayes interview after they in the spring, remember?
Yes.
He said that if he violates the Constitution, the American people are going to rise up. Like, what are you doing?
But
My
not
voice
only
just
the
cracked.
American, but the point is, no, he said more than that. He said the American people are going to rise up and you're going to see these Republican lawmakers defy Donald Trump.
Woo.
Now, this guy, in every instance, except for in the Iran stuff, where he thought there was a secret deal,
No side deals,
a side deal to avoid bombing the country. He has the exact same line. This is the time where Republicans, if you don't show up to bat this time, boy, oh boy, are you going to get it from anybody but me.
Right. But the no side deal thing is the same.
This is
Chuck.
your last chance.
Chuck.
You better be.
He's still
you
giving it-
better do the right thing.
How about go and win those voters that are now upset that they've just toppled the new regime?
Okay, that's not the way it works. That's not the way it works.
Chuck, I just have to ask you. So with the Iran deal thing, you were focused on no side deals. He's all over the
I am so
lot.
steamed right now.
Right?
I can barely even hear you.
Trump's all over the lot. He's not going through the proper procedure. That was the critique.
Correct.
Now I see Chuck
Side
Schumer's
deals.
statement. He's got to
No
go to
side
Congress.
deals.
No side deals.
No side deals.
Why do you insist on, in like acts of military aggression, Chuck,
Yes.
criticizing Trump on purely procedural grounds?
Trump's all over the lot.
Because he's like, what's he doing? See, that's the thing. It's
They're going to sound tough in public and then have a side deal that lets Iran get away with everything.
come on, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Right?
Right, but people don't know what you're talking about. Like, the American public needs to understand what the policy is.
Well, they
of
do.
This war
You know
of
why?
aggression.
Go Bills.
Because I put this on the social media. Yes, I did, of course. And what's going to happen is I go on the social media and I say, what's going on here? You're not following the process that the American people want. And if you don't, then you're going to be in big trouble from your voters. And then they're going to like tell Donald Trump, stop doing it. And
Yeah.
It's all taken care of. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Do you think that people are voting based on the violation of congressional norms and procedure?
Yeah.
No side deal.
Oh, and no side deals.
Gotcha.
They want the good process and no side deals. No BS. No BS around here. Gotta talk tough.
Jeffries and Schumer's statements were about, not going to Congress. Just a spoiler
They didn't
alert.
go to Congress and to give us an opportunity. We want to get in on the game.
And it is true, right, that Congress has the authority to declare war, and
That's-
what Trump is doing is illegal.
Of course.
But
here's the thing.
yes,
I think it's gonna be a real shame if the Republicans don't do their part.
right. Yes, I think it'll
People
be a real
are
shame
going to
too.
be very, very disappointed.
The heat is on them when they do this.
or aroused.
Or they could be aroused, but by disappointment, like a disappointed arousal.
I know that feeling.
That is the Democrats.
And that's the plan.
Okay, so
Think about a time when you were really disappointed. And where did you go around with like a frown on your face?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, nobody likes that. So then the voters are going to go, stop it.
the focus on procedure from Jeffries and Schumer is very much contrasted by Van Hollen, AOC statements, all this other stuff. Even frickin' Kamala Harris came out.
Van
and
Hollen
said,
who?
And said that it's about the oil, which the good news is that it seems like Democratic poll testing seems to say that this message has potency, because otherwise there's no way Kamala Harris, who accepted the Dick Cheney endorsement, would be saying this. But like, it's just incredible to see how like both of these things are true. Yes, Congress has abdicated its authority on wartime
Seems happy
powers,
to.
and did so willingly, and they need to reassert it. Yes, and what Trump is doing is illegal, but what has more political potency? What matters to folks? It implicating capital and talking about imperialism and connecting it also to this deeply unpopular, genocide that we're funding in the Middle East, where people intrinsically understand that their policy there is about oil and conquest, etc. Like, that is probably the right way to go.
No.
Okay.
People want to know that Congress signed off.
What kind of bull is this?
They want to be able to say,
Yeah.
Congress signed off on this. So it's okay.
That matters.
We're sending our boys and girls down there to Venezuela to take care of it.
Like, actually, that whole part is the part that makes this even more depressing than just the Don Roe doctrine, which is that who was the first person who put Maduro on, who designated Maduro as a threat to U.S. security? Barack Obama.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Donald Trump does not have the authority to change it from the Monroe Doctrine. And that, wait till the Republicans have to get in front of their voters and say, the Don Roe Doctrine. It's not the Don Roe Doctrine. That kind of bullshit is this.
Is it Monroe or Don Roe? He's all over the lot.
He's all over the place. Tomorrow it's going to be, the Trump row and then the non-row, and then he could go through the whole alphabet. It could
last so long.
Trump's all over the lot.
Yeah.
He's all over the place. Well,
leadership.
Anyway,
leadership. Yep. There we go.
And the reality is also that they support regime change. To your point.
Well, they were all applauding.
Yes.
The only time in the State of the Union when Donald Trump was delivering the State of the Union address, if I remember correctly, was when he invited Guaido. He invited Guaido to the State of the Union, and the only time the Democrats ever joined the Republicans in a standing ovation was for Juan Guaido.
Biden brought Guaido to the Democracy Summit in D.C. in his last term as a representation of democracy. Yeah, there it is. Oh my gosh.
Legitimate president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido. Mr. President.
Oh, look at that. Pelosi beats Pence standing up. There's like a dozen Democrats sitting down. And everybody else is just up and applauding this guy as if he was the only other time you see an applause like this during the State of the Union is for somebody who like
a veteran.
Yeah, veteran, or somebody lost a limb, or this 14-year-old girl lost her mom in a train accident or something like this. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Now it's the Don Roe Doctrine.
And meanwhile, do we have the thing where Trump is threatening every other country in the Western Hemisphere that he can think of? Which one is that?
I dissected them into each country. You can see that he's threatened.
So which one? Where should we start here? With number? Okay, where does that start? What number?
Oh,
okay. All right, let's start here. Here's Trump. Let's do a series of videos as Trump promotes maybe we should start with the Don Roe Doctrine. Which number is that?
That's 11.
11. Let's start with 11. And then we'll just go through the different countries that are subjected to the Don Roe Doctrine. I came up with that. I just did it myself.
There was a time back in 2016, I remember your RNC speech, and you were saying that regime change and nation building.
Where?
When you were speaking at the RNC back in 2016, you were criticizing regime change and nation building, the U.S. being involved in that. It seems obviously that your stance has changed on that. What led to that? And is the U.S. nation building now? Is that
This isn't a country that's on the other side of the world. This isn't a country where you have to travel 24 hours in an airplane. This is Venezuela. It's in our area. The Don Roe Doctrine.
So is that what you would say, that we're in the business of nation building now?
We're in the business of having countries around us that are viable and successful, and where the oil is allowed to freely come out because that's good against the prices now. That's good for our country.
There was a time.
The Don Roe Doctrine.
How pissed was he that she didn't stop and go, wow.
Wow. Yes. No, you didn't hear. Don Roe, I said, not Monroe. Don Roe.
You don't have to take a 24-hour flight to get there. I don't have to worry about the compression socks and my aspirin smoothie to make sure my blood is as thin as it gets. I can go there in 3 hours.
Did I mention that I had another annual physical just days ago, and perfect. I got a 100%.
He sounds like shit.
Yes. Here is Marco Rubio. And we should say the reporting was that on Air Force One, do we have that clip?
Trump saying he wants to run it?
The reporting was from, I guess it was, I read it from Manu Raju, that he was, oh, here it is. Trump tells reporters on Air Force One, we're in charge of Venezuela. We're going to run it. We'll fix it. We have elections at the right time. In Iran, if they start killing people like they have in the past, they're going to get hit very hard by the U.S. We need Greenland from a national security situation to boost up security in Greenland. They, Denmark, added one more dog sled, and Cuba is ready to fall. Let's just go through this. Starting 2026 off with a bang. Here is, what number is this? Yeah, here's
15.
This is 15. This is Trump speaking on Air Force One 2 days ago.
We need Greenland for national security, not for minerals. We have so many sites for minerals and oil and everything. We have more oil than any other country in the world. We need Greenland for national security. And if you take a look at Greenland, you look up and down the coast, you have Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need.
So, I mean, obviously this pivot, this Don Roe doctrine, essentially fortress Western Hemisphere. Here's Rubio talking about what's going on in Cuba.
That helped protect Maduro. This is well known. Their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, they basically, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems the Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba. They tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit. Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's a pre-existing.
Mr. President.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes. Yeah, it is a little impressive if you're saying that, Rubio, that Cuba, I guess, is able to run Venezuela as he claims. It's almost as like Cuba standing up to, U.S. aggression is a bit of a success story in many ways.
What forced such an alliance? Is it like America's foreign policy over the past half century?
Yeah, right, exactly. And if he lived in Havana, he'd be concerned. I mean, the United States tried to assassinate Castro how many times? Hundreds of times. We're never successful, so good luck with that, buddy.
Here is Trump and Lindsey Graham. I mean, the neocons are back, essentially, is what we're seeing. I mean, the only difference is where in the world the neocons have their are focusing their attention.
And how they campaigned. I mean, there were graphics. The pro-peace ticket. No new wars. When Trump, his speech after he won, he spoke about how he's not going to start any new wars. I mean, they lie without any consequences.
Let's be fair to them.
Okay.
Their lying involved virtually no effort. And the idea that you're going to buy into the idea that the Republican Party and all of these people and Lindsey Graham and all of them that supported Donald Trump, that Donald Trump was like his own man and was not going to pursue any type of wars or any type of imperialism. And you bought this. I mean, honestly, like it's almost a disservice to say they lied because it was so obvious they were not telling the truth.
I mean, we were making this case over and over again on the show. And people seem
Here's
to not,
Lindsey Graham and Donald Trump. And remember what he did with Cuba the first time around.
Yep.
He basically reversed any of the sanction relief that Obama had put in place.
And you know who didn't reverse Trump's reversal? Joe Biden. Thanks, Biden.
One of the things that is happening, and I think you see it all the time, Howard, you've seen it, that Cuba is ready to fall. You know? Yes. Cuba looks like it's ready to fall. I don't know if they're going to hold out. But Cuba now has no income. They got all of their income from Venezuela, from the Venezuelan oil. They're not getting any of it. And Cuba literally is ready to fall. And you have a lot of great Cuban Americans that are going to be very happy about this.
Marco Rubio.
Oh, I'm sure the Cuban Americans and the diaspora here will love it. Like the Republicans were spreading this celebration from Venezuelan diaspora in South Florida and claiming that it was the people in Venezuela celebrating, and that's obviously not true. There's a reason that certain diaspora are here in the United States. PBD is a great example of Iranian diaspora who is there to promote capitalism. Cuban diaspora as well. Obviously, that's why we basically said if you can come here, no matter what, doesn't matter. Venezuelan diaspora in South Florida, that's going to be more right wing. That's why they're allowed in. Although, the cats and dogs thing that Trump was talking about, right? Remember, were those Venezuela? Oh no, those were Haitian. I'm sorry. Never mind. But regardless, that's also part of their freak out about Biden letting in more Venezuelan migrants as well.
I'm sure this is going to help that too. I'm sure there's not going to be any out migration from Venezuela after this all shakes out. Shout out to Dave Smith also for selling out the libertarian anti-war movement hook, line, and sinker to this regime. And, good work, saying Israel shouldn't kill Palestinians. You're going to need to do that a lot to make up for what you did to the right-wing anti-war movement in this country, buddy.
I mean, it also could be, though, a reflection on what actually is the right-wing anti-war movement.
Yeah, not worth a damn.
No. I'm sorry.
Actually, probably did us all a favor.
Yeah.
Somebody's reporting that Trump reportedly lost interest in backing the Venezuelan opposition leader, Machado, as she accepted the Nobel Peace Prize instead of giving it to Trump.
Yeah, it could be running the country now. I saw a quote to that effect.
I don't know if that's true
I
or
know.
not.
I
Who
think
knows?
it could be him being upset about it, but for the most part, he's actually right that she has no credibility in Venezuela. You know why? Because she went on Don Jr.'s podcast and every right-wing show that would listen and say, it's about the oil. We're going to privatize the oil. We're going to open it up to America.
Yeah.
We can come and take our oil. Take our oil. Also, I support an invasion of my own country. Maybe that might have gotten in the way of her having credibility as an opposition leader that they were trying to prop up.
It's smarter doing what they're doing now, which is to say somebody from within Maduro's regime
Yeah.
who they maybe turned can try some continuity. Now, how that works out, I'm not placing a bet on it, Poly Market.
What is this? Is this number 14? What is this one?
That's just the general doctrine.
Oh, yeah, we did that one. Yeah, it's just let's just round it out. He's in a couple of days, Greenland, Mexico, Venezuela.
We have a very sick neighbor. It's not a neighbor, but it's close to a neighbor.
It's audio only, so we can.
Yeah.
He's just full Yosemite Sam now, just shooting his gun in a
Yeah,
circle.
well,
Yeah.
Listen, we're in for a penny, in for a pound, is what I always say. We're going to take it all over.
This is just audio.
I mean, I think to a certain extent, they feel like they've got to get all this done very, very quickly because we're, in a month or two, all attention is going to turn to the midterm election in 2026. We are 25 days out from another potential government shutdown. There is, near unanimity that Democrats essentially won, if you will, the last government shutdown. People attribute it to Charlie Kirk's assassination. But the thing that really weakened the Republicans' position was their polling sunk even lower during the government shutdown.
Yeah. Yep.
And we have seen Donald Trump commit an illegal invasion of a sovereign country. And for whatever reason has deployed 11 warships and 10,000 Marines to just sit off the coast, costing us money that is not going to, America first, if you will. He has, there's just been a series of things that they could now say, like, we're just not going forward with this because Donald Trump is behaving illegally, never mind war rescission. But here he is talking about Colombia.
Now, we have a very sick neighbor. It's not a neighbor, but it's close to a neighbor. And that's Venezuela. It's very sick. Colombia is very sick, too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States. And he's not going to be doing it very long, let me tell you.
What does that mean? He's not going to be doing it very long.
He's not doing it very long. He has cocaine mills and cocaine factories. He's not going to be doing it very long.
So there will be an operation by the U.S. in
It sounds good to me.
Senator Rubio mentioned
Now we have
Yeah, there you go.
Sounds good to me.
They're mad that, Gustavo Petro, I'll just read a quote of his from a speech that he made the other day. A clan of pedophiles wants to destroy our democracy to keep Epstein's list from coming out. They send warships to kill fishermen and threaten our neighbor with invasion for their oil. Or maybe that was a quote from recently at the very least. And I think that's kind of a smart move by Petro because it plays domestically in the U.S. to bring up the Epstein list. And if you want, you have this aging group of Democratic leaders who are on board with this, but the younger crop that are coming up. I mean, did you see Pat Ryan's video? I DM'd it to you, but maybe you didn't check it. His response to it, where he was saying it's about the oil. Like the Democrats that are coming up, appealing to them and appealing to like the constituency of the Democratic base that doesn't want regime change wars and is disgusted by the genocide in Gaza and wants the Democrats to represent that position is a smart move if you're a Latin American leader.
And look, I would be surprised if the Democrats don't say, you have not released the Epstein files.
Yeah.
You are statutorily obligated to do so. Why should we sign off on a budget when you don't respect the laws that we passed in the first place? What's the difference? I mean, you want to talk about a low-hanging, low-information voter gift. We are not going to pass a budget until you release the Epstein files. Like, this is like for the level of for the moronocracy that we live in. This is like a gift handed on a platter.
Yep.
This is going to be the thing that people can understand. And we'll see. Chuck Schumer is so hesitant to do it.
Yep. But one
of the things we got to avoid is winning. We don't want to win.
Just to underscore my point here, I've referenced this video that Pat Ryan put out. Sam often references Pat Ryan.
He is the congressman from New York's 18th district, which is it's tough to apples and oranges because it's sort of a relatively new district, but he is like a populist. He's not great on immigration, but he is someone that like AOC has forged like a working relationship with. She cited him, I think, when we talked to her maybe a year or two ago.
Right.
And but he's also an Iraq vet. And
it's an example of somebody who's in a purple district, a Democrat who doesn't share all of our politics, but he plays the game smartly. He's partisan. And he also is just usually quite on point about major messaging things. And so I thought it was notable that this is how he responded.
Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction.
Weapons of mass destruction. Now we all know that was complete bullshit. And it was my fellow soldiers and I who paid the price fighting in a war predicated on a bunch of lies.
President Donald Trump says the United States will strike Venezuela.
I understand the concern, but the difference is that back then we had dumb presidents.
Fentanyl is a weapon of mass destruction.
Chemical weapons is a threat to the United States.
Fentanyl poses a chemical weapons threat to the United States.
His regime has an active support for and cooperation with terrorist networks.
Al-Qaeda of our hemisphere. It has nothing to do with oil.
Venezuela for the American oil companies will be a field day.
And now they're trying to do the same exact thing again.
Why don't we just take over the oil?
Paid for by Pat Ryan for Congress. Good ad. And it sounds like Graham Plattner.
Yep.
So, I mean, the Democrats they're choosing, and it's the leaders that are making this about procedure. again, there's truth to talk about how the Congress needs to reassert its authority to declare war and that Trump is violating the law. But that's political messaging, not talking about the frickin' rules of Congress. Oh my God.
Oh, well, wait a second, Miss High and Mighty. Let me say that it's very similar to what we're saying. It's sort of like a lie when you don't allow us to authorize it. Lies, rise.
Close.
Authorize, See? Same.
I wonder if AOC runs for president if Pat Ryan is interested in running for Senate. Just something to ponder.
Wow. Ooh, Emma's really... Somebody should set up and see if there's a new Polymarket account being set up.
Did you want to just quickly cover that Polymarket thing? This is insane.
Is it in any way surprising whatsoever?
It's not, but
that there's somebody in the administration who front ran the invasion of Venezuela.
So why these things existed?
I mean, this whole this is exactly why you create this. And frankly, it's like, listen, when we took money from Kamala Harris, when we allegedly, there is a theory that we did. I want to see if there's going to be a Polymarket second one about this.
Right. Has this been resolved? How did they get the evidence?
The first one was resolved in our favor.
A newly created Polymarket account invested $30,000 yesterday in Maduro's exit. The U.S. then took Maduro into custody overnight, and the trader profited $400,000 in less than 24 hours. Insider trading is not only allowed on prediction markets, it's encouraged. Of course.
That's how you undiscover truth.
Yeah, going to price truth into the market.
Yeah, exactly.
Run out with a giant payday.
Good thing that none of our news organizations are partnering with these kinds of prediction markets. Oh, wait, CNN and Kalshi.
I mean, who could have known that?
But they're doing it with Kalshi, and Kalshi has a much different. They're much better. They're
trying to improve the
they
world.
use a completely different branding.
Whole grain predictive market.
Totally, yes.
Right.
Artisanal.
Organic speculation.
Artisanal.
No, they were the ones that tried to play the long game and waited for. They didn't operate outside of the United States, so they tried to lobby regulators, and they'll probably come out on top. Polymarket's so shady that it was like, we gotta make money fast. Let's do this abroad, and people can pay us that way through crypto or whatever.
Our society is in.
Yeah, it's really bad.
We're having it's a bad time for our society.
But if there are any folks in the administration who are listening to this show and have any inside information, you can reach out to.
We gotta start trying to
reporters.
figure out how to front run this market with something like, will the Majority Report expand? Who knows? Might. I don't know.
I think it's got to be juicier.
You're the
than
first people to ever get in trouble for it.
Yes.
For $5 profit.
I mean, listen, if you do it, if I was to do $5 bets 100,000 times.
I'm not sure that the Trump administration is the right time to engage in, shady practices.
Excuse me?
For us?
It's the time to do it. It's what? It's
first you need to come out as a
free-for-all.
conservative. If you leave the left and make it about that, then obviously we get to do.
I don't know. Maybe people will have an over/under when I leave the left. Because you guys have been the way you guys are treating me. It's just honestly like
You're so captured by your audience.
Yeah, you guys are so captured by the audience, and I'll tell you something. It's like the nicest emails I get during Christmas are from conservatives.
Wow.
But liberals are all just nasty, very nasty. And people used to say this to me, and I'm like, no, what are you talking about? But when I experienced it, it's really...
It was weird. Like, you came into the office and you said that this Republican said that Snapdragon is the best Apple available, and now your whole worldview is changing.
I had people who were posting on, I can't remember what social media, that my Jordan Peterson and my Chuck Schumer were the same. and obviously like the liberal like attack machine.
Yeah.
I think that's anti-Semitism.
Well, this is what Sam's been saying. He keeps
crazy.
Sam keeps talking about having open conversations and then not saying what he means by it.
I try and talk about ideas, and people are just like, they don't want to hear them. I'm so sick of it.
You're no longer tethered to an ideology. Don't you feel free? We let you go, and you're just floating out to sea.
Politically.
You're like a baby again. How's it feel?
And that he's shitting his pants.
I went into my building the other day, and this guy who's like a liberal just slammed the door in my face. But then a conservative guy who lives down the hall comes and opens the door for me because I had 2 bags in my hand.
Wow.
I just realized, like, my politics, it made me question my politics. Fair wages, maybe, but I mean, why are people so rude? Spotify is a major corporation. Does anybody know what the net revenue is for Spotify? Like how big of a company is it? We must be talking, is it valued $1 billion? It's gotta be, right? It is that, am I seeing that $44 billion?
For some reason, this is in euros, but it says Spotify's net revenue for the first quarter of 2025 was 4.2 billion euro.
Well, I think Spotify could be a European country, but let's be like
Swedish, right?
I mean, I don't know what the valuation of a company that's doing approximately
$100 billion.
Yeah, $100 billion valuation.
And they've done that on the backs of like a lot of artists that they have completely
they completely
ripped off. Yeah,
completely
they're just in part of destroying the music industry.
They completely exploit musicians.
Yeah.
And what they also do is they have a big show that is by a self-professed idiot that no one should be listening to, but also gets very mad when people say you're an idiot that no one should be listening to.
And you're part of a conspiracy.
Sort of both, right? He both says I'm an idiot. Nobody should be listening to me and taking me seriously.
But if anybody calls me an idiot,
but if anybody says exactly, if anybody says I'm an idiot or that they shouldn't listen to me, they're jealous and they're assholes. Here he is, so desperate to, I don't know if it's just a question of both sides thing or just like believe that Trump is changing the world. This is a guy who believes that that there were kids who are identified as cats, and that's why schools had to put kitty litter into their classrooms, as opposed to there could be a lockdown situation and kids may have to take a shit and won't be able to go to the bathroom because they're in lockdown. And he so believed it that he made up a friend who was married to a
direct
teacher.
source,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I got to backfill this. And here he is, like, doing the same thing, just sort of like seeing one thing and then creating an entire imaginary backstory to justify the killing of supposedly drug-running Venezuelans in boats in the Caribbean. And to the extent that we know anything about them, there's a lot of reporting that a lot of these people are just fishermen. But also we know that there's no evidence whatsoever, zero evidence, that any of these boats were headed to the United States. Venezuela has a very, very small export of drugs to the United States market. It's mostly Europeans. But here he is. He wants to create a backstory where Donald Trump has really helped the country. And here he is. Let's hear it.
From the time Trump's been in office, deaths by overdose have dropped off a cliff. Look at that. Look at 2024. And leading into 2025. Look at these are all deaths from overdoses.
Can you pause it? I'm sorry.
I mean, that's
Okay, look at that chart. Okay, when does the drop start to happen?
Come with me, and you'll be in a world.
2024.
There's no 2025 data at all in this.
Okay. 2023 and 2024. Biden was president all of 2024.
Wait, what?
Yes.
No, because the election is in 2024.
I got a sticker on my Cybertruck that says Trump 24.
Trump 2024.
So,
Oh, right. Okay, gotcha. Duh. It must have been like what's the good equivalent of the George Floyd effect?
Do you think somebody sent him? Like, how do you think he comes across this graph? Do you think
some idiot did the exact same mistake he did, probably dishonestly, and he just took it hook, line, and sinker?
You don't think that Rogan has like I'm interested in this. I'm going to spend 4 minutes finding the original source of this, so that maybe I could see like, oh, wait a second. This doesn't cover the era like this. The entire story I'm about to make up about this is completely fictionalized based upon almost like a comically stupid misreading of this information. He must have seen it. Either somebody sent it to him or it was spoon fed to him. Right?
I mean, he's addicted to
this was
confirming his
Baby
biases.
Bird.
Yeah.
Baby
It's
Bird.
unbelievable.
And I'll just say, like, the real reason that this is falling, like, people mention the proactive things, which are good about Narcan and that sort of stuff. The sad truth is that it, like a lot of drug epidemics, it burned through the population that was going to be the most susceptible for it. And now those people are gone to not here to die again.
Yeah.
Well, also, let's look a little carefully at that graph. When does it pop up? I mean, you see it at flatline, and that was when we started to see back in the teens, where you started to see doctors limiting how they were prescribing opiates because there was an increasing awareness of the problem that was being created by it. Now, very difficult for people doing pain management. But that's a second story. But you started to see the graph. You started to see it plateau, and then we have COVID, and it creates a tremendous amount of stress on society. You start to see these huge spikes in crime, which of course come from a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, and you saw how either idiots or just people who wanted to weaponize it would talk about this as if it was some like sort of policy change as opposed to this rupture in society. And then you see a spike in overdose because obviously the isolation, the difficulty that comes with a once in a lifetime pandemic increases drug use, increases overdoses. And it drops precipitously in 2023. And I bet you the extension of that into 2025, it also drops.
It fell 17% between July 2023 and July 2024. That was the data there. And this was also, to Matt's point, yes, it did very sadly burn through that population. But I do want to give the administration credit, the Biden administration, for deploying some harm reduction tactics. The FDA under the Biden administration approved over-the-counter Narcan, and they started distributing hundreds of thousands of kits, actually 10 million free naloxone kits across the country. And so that is a big part of this as well. These are the harm reduction policies that they try to use in cities that the same people like this will say are like tough on crime or whatever, but they're effective and they're backed up by the data.
But it's very important for the right wing that the lesson isn't learned that actually treating this like a public health crisis is the way forward. So Joe Rogan is really doing like fascist propaganda, saying we need the drug war and military might.
Well, that's what's amazing. That's what's amazing. Like, go back so that we can just play this thing and one. But he is going to land on the drop in ODs was a function of the Trump administration killing 80 people in tiny motorboats coming from Venezuela. That somehow had an impact on drug overdose.
In 2024?
How? Well, forget the timing. Let's just assume it was 2025.
Okay.
That killing people starting in September of 2025.
You'd have that data already.
But even assuming like we did have that data, to think that killing those 80, even if they're not fishermen, which there's a lot of evidence that they are, to think that could have an impact on drug overdose. This is like being so desperate for like the Easter Bunny to be real that you're going around having conversations with like stuffed animals.
Oh yeah, by the way, it's
like
not
seeing Mother Mary and toast.
This is just the peak of stupidity. I don't care how effing high you are when you say this. You are
illegal
dumb.
marijuana in
Exactly.
Texas, by the way.
Go ahead.
Can I just say, like, fentanyl and cocaine are different drugs, also.
Yeah.
From the time Trump's been in office,
Nope.
deaths by overdose have dropped off a cliff. Look at that.
Incorrect.
Look at 2024. And
wow.
leading into 2025. Look at, these are all deaths.
He
from
knows that it's not
overdoses.
even 2025. He's so stupid.
Yeah.
So stupid.
I mean, that's kind of crazy.
It's
Yeah.
Like,
very
look at that.
crazy.
From all drugs, which is the top one, look at that drop. I mean, that's crazy. So you see the peak in was in 2022, or it looks like actually 2020, between
It looks like
2023
mid.
and 2024. That's the peak where people are dying. And then from the time Trump's in office, it's taking a fucking sharp downturn. And why is that? Well, part of it is because they're blowing up these fucking boats that are bringing in all the drugs. And
But I want you just to listen to the timbre in his voice. This is what a guy who is an absolute idiot moron sounds like when he is convinced that he is right. Yeah. Like he's got confidence. It's a throwaway. It's like so obvious, and he is wrong. It's like this is like a hat on a hat in terms of stupidity. He's both wrong about the timing, and even if he was right about the time, even if that graph said what he thinks it said, the idea that shooting 8 boats out of the water
Overdose deaths?
like had a viable impact on overdose deaths is the dumbest. It's just so stupid.
And it starting in September. So meaning like it would for that aggregate of data to happen, it would be like, yeah, the final 4 months of the year, everyone's like, I'm not doing fentanyl anymore. I've decided I'm not doing fentanyl anymore. No way, no way.
Scared straight.
Just so desperate to. It's just unbelievable. I'm amazed by that level of stupidity. And there was no point in the process. And incidentally, he is surrounded by people who make more. Each individual there could be equal the budget of this entire operation.
Yeah.
And none of them were like, hey, Joe, hold on for 1 second.
Yeah.
None of this makes any sense.
I mean, that's the dark thing about the drug war, and you'd think Joe Rogan would be positioned to understand this sort of libertarian argument about what the drug war licenses the American government to do. But there's the young Kennedy, Joseph Kennedy III. In 2018, he was asked about marijuana laws, and he's like, this is the actual quote, when we decriminalized it, it actually had a pretty big consequences for the way that Massachusetts prosecutors went about trying cases in terms of, because an odor of marijuana was, at least initially, because marijuana was an illegal substance. If you smell it in a car, you could search a car. So he said it became a problem when you got rid of that because cops couldn't just do searches. This is exactly what we're doing when Trump says it's overdoses or fentanyl, whatever. They don't give a crap about any substances there. They want to use the guns and blow stuff up and change the person who's leading the country. It's not about protecting you and it's pretty crazy. I saw your tweet, and Tim Sherrock, former guest of this program, who lost his daughter. It's disgusting the way Trump is allowed to get away with, not the way he does, because fascists are going to lie about this stuff, but these hundreds and hundreds of thousands of deaths that have been caused by like people like the Sacklers, and we're completely just packaging it up, commodifying it, and using it to do a regime change.
I mean, that's what I brought up on CNN. That's what Tim was responding to, which is awful. Tim Sherrock, great guest. We had him on the show. Lost his daughter to fentanyl poisoning, and the point is just like that the Sacklers never get brought up and with their complicity in this. And so like for all this talk about the Republicans talking tough, let's drone strike anybody
Protecting Americans, blah, blah, blah.
Anybody that's accused of drug smuggling, the Sacklers knew that their products were addictive. They profited billions from it. There ended up being a settlement. And I asked this on the show, like, would you support extrajudicially killing the Sacklers? And of course, the Republican couldn't answer.
Well, that's because you said in the town square.
I did say, yeah.
And that's very confusing. What town square?
Yeah, he was.
You were not specific about which town.
That is when I knew I won the argument pretty handily.
She kept saying town square. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. This is 1817?
Yeah. What town are we talking about?
Yeah. The town square. I should have, if I were quicker in that moment, I should have said like, okay, so we'll send the Sacklers out in international waters in a yacht. Are you in favor of assassinating them?
Or just the Walmart parking lot in your local community. That's the new town square.
Let's see what we got here. The Steep Ballroom, Happy New Year, a new war, mother effers. Henry Gold, New Year, new mayor, who dis? Science from Maine, welcome back. I'm sure you didn't miss any major news over the holiday. Mollified, here I was worried about Venezuela, but thank God my cat food update instead. We opened up the show that way. Kyle Leck, January 5th, my 31st birthday, and since 2021, Coops Mess Eve. Fig, Sam talking about kitty cat as soon as the show starts. Glad we're not leaving the spiritually lesbian allegations in 2025. Got you. C. Angel Lamb team. It's very hard for us over at CNN to see Emma's hair lacking this much volume.
I got great fucking volume today, baby. I got really thin hair like these, other Scandinavian idiots. So I don't know why I'm calling them idiots. What? Just move on.
I was embarrassed.
Scandinavian.
It's hard for mine to maintain
anti-Scandinavianism.
I'll do my hair and makeup probably 15 minutes max before the show. I don't want to put in a ton of effort. But
do they put like a powder or something in there? Or
no,
what?
I don't.
No, on CNN.
Oh, on CNN, they tease it. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but they tease it and they curl it and yeah, they do a good job.
Dmitry Bedev, the majority report is in full effect at 26. Tomo Flink, happy Fun Day Monday, folks. Happy-ish New Year. You'll be pleased to know that Europe is monitoring the situation harder than any situation has ever been monitored. When Trump annexes Greenland, which he will, I expect every single European leader to monitor the shit out of the situation. In all seriousness, we've had reservations about America's attitude to Europe for some time, but we overlooked it due to the goodwill America bought itself in Europe in the Second World War and years afterwards. 80 years of goodwill had been pissed away because a small-dicked, emotionally incontinent pedophile rapist can't get over a black people being allowed to say no to him. Nassau County spokesperson Jabari Brisbort endorses Antonio Delgado. Interesting.
That is interesting.
You got to keep the pressure on.
Brisport's really good.
Truck nuts. Super confused by some online leftists right now. Hearing people say Mamdani is not a true leftist because he isn't hardcore enough out of the bat. Amongst other weird commentary, if Mamdani isn't good enough, where do we go from here? Is there anything left with this level of political purity?
Yeah, no, you gotta just make a point. Those people need to say that because if Mamdani does move the ball forward, what have they been doing this entire time?
I think it goes. I think there's both like a psychological answer and a political answer to this, and I don't know that they're actually mutually exclusive. But the political answer is that there are some people who do not believe in electoral politics, who believe that the only way that change is going to come is going to be through some type of revolution. It is unclear what happens, how the revolution begins, and what happens through that. It's just sort of like a black box.
It's on the Green Party ballot line.
But it's not. But even if someone was,
I'll say prominent people I've seen talk about this are just Green Party people, and it's like they need to say that because they've basically been talking bullshit for all this time, spinning their wheels in
the idea
mud.
that we haven't had a serious Green Party mayor in the existence of the 40 years of Green Party candidates is indicative of how the party hasn't been able to get their shit together.
Some reflection would be good by those types. But.
And also, all of the things that they were accusing him of, like basically being weak on, his speech talked about democratic socialism, I will govern as one, and he's demoting Tish, which was the other thing they were upset about being retained. So there's no there.
I mean, yeah, like there's certain things like whether it's the cop stuff that's probably going to take some time for Mamdani to fully get there, but I would say I trust him. And the initial days of his administration confirmed that.
Dave from Jamaica. Cenk didn't like the collectivism line much. What a silly guy. Silly's not the adjective I would use, but it doesn't matter. I saw that. I saw that tweet. It was
very stupid. If Bernie had said that in 2016 when Cenk was still in the fold, he would have not have a problem with it. But now that they're the kind of new centrist thing that they're doing, or whatever, the third way pivot, I don't know, populism, he's not in the fold with the Zoran people.
Generic
so
populism.
Time to be salty and bitter.
Hey, MR, new member. Thanks for the show. I joined the DSA abolition. I've been working with a prisoner who had been denied parole for over 20 years. I have an Action Network email campaign for him that I posted in November under mutual aid in the Community Garden Discord. It's a single click to send an email for his release. We are at 52, hoping to reach 100. On behalf of Jonathan, thank you for everyone for your help, solidarity. Folks, majoritydiscord.com. In the Community Garden Discord, you will find that link. Trump change. I remember when Clinton did a 180 the day after his first inauguration, claiming surprise revisions on budget numbers that would make him change all of his election promises. Radical Goyam. Hi, MR fam. I have nothing but a book recommendation that's relevant for where we find ourselves days into 2026. Open Veins of Latin America by Eduardo Galeno, 1971, goes into a deep dive on the centuries of imperialism in Latin America. Corporations ate my baby. Hey, Happy New Year, MR crew. I missed the show so much, but this feels good to jump back in. I'm glad your holiday times were good. Let's overturn billionaires this year. Here is Mamdani. What is this, day one? First day in office, coming off of a speech that basically says, I am not going to lower expectations for my administration. I am going to govern as I ran as a social democrat, and or I should say as a democratic socialist. And on day one, he goes and visits some apartments run by a Pinnacle
Realty
Group, which has something like over, 5,000 was it? Or 5,000, I think, infractions with the city.
Thankfully, they're not my landlord anymore, but I might have been one of those infractions because they were horrible. I just said the story, but just quickly, we had an HVAC unit that ended up leaking, or it was breaking for a month over the summer of 2023. We were emailing them saying we need the air conditioning, blah, blah, blah. It ended up just breaking, and overnight, the water just all leaked out under the hardwood floor in our apartment, and it warped the floor to such a degree that we couldn't open a door because it was so damaged, and they didn't come and fix our unit, let alone the health hazard of the mold going under the floorboards, until we filed a complaint with the city, and then they granted us the complaint for an unsafe apartment, and then they were forced to come fix our air conditioning. This was in the middle of August.
The landlord, Pinnacle, has racked up more than 5,000 violations and 14,000 complaints.
There you go.
In 83 buildings.
You shouldn't be able to own 1,000 properties.
Yep.
They don't. That was only in 83 buildings.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You imagine 5,000 violations in 83 buildings.
Yes.
And that's violations. That means they have been investigated and adjudicated as being a violation.
Lock them up.
Not the 14,000 complaints that exist. And those 5,000 could have come from God knows how many complaints.
Yes. When I went to mail some paperwork and it had Pinnacle on it at USPS, the teller was like, "Oh my God, they're mine too. They're horrible, X, Y, and Z." I mean, it was known throughout the city.
I don't know what the plans are. The city should take them over.
And Pinnacle essentially claimed that they have been squeezed by the rising cost of maintenance,
Ain't seen nothing
utilities, and interest rates adjustments.
Time to exit the industry then.
And they filed for bankruptcy in May, which of course, Donald Trump did a half a dozen times. This is a classic
slumlord
behavior. But here is Mamdani, day one.
When did this happen?
I can't remember exactly the year.
The year?
More than years.
Mayor Zohran Mamdani inspecting broken floor tiles in an apartment on Clarkson Avenue in Prospect Lefferts Gardens, getting a first-hand look at the deteriorating conditions, from an eroding bathtub surface to a rust-covered, corroded bathroom pipe and red paint splashed about.
And you told the landlord about this?
Yes.
And what was the response?
Call some numbers, but nobody want to do anything about it.
Residents in this same building and in others owned by the landlord Pinnacle Realty say they've experienced similar conditions, from leaking bathroom ceilings to moldy drywall. Tenant unions rallying in response, demanding stronger tenant protections.
Day one.
I mean, you know, what is even the ideological argument about this? Right? Like, you know, this isn't, you know, there's absolutely no reason why the most capitalist of mayors could not have done something like about this.
Yeah, and Eric Adams, who is corrupted and bought, and also corrupted by different like corporate interests, but also by the Trump administration.
Also other countries.
And other countries. All right, I shouldn't limit myself. He, doing the bidding of these donors in the Trump administration and people like that, tried to stack the rental guidance board with sycophants, somebody who I think had worked for a bank as one of them. And they abruptly resigned just a few days ago because Zohran Mamdani we don't really know what happened behind the scenes, but put enough pressure on this person to being like, you got to go. And it just shows that, like, you know, when you have on the federal level, like, Biden not changing over certain appointments and keeping Republicans in office and, like, you know, saying, oh, what can we do? I mean, X, Y, and Z. You can do something. You can use leverage. You can use political power. You can be a bully to get your agenda across in the good sense. And I think Zohran is already hitting the ground running there.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are things there are policy moves that are specifically sort of like ideological, that fit into an ideological framework. Then there's also people who come from a specific ideological background or perspective. They prioritize things. Like, there's nothing, like, theoretically, right? Capitalism, a full-throated capitalist mayor should address the fact that you've got a company that has 5,000 violations and 14,000 complaints, and people are living in shitty apartments that aren't being serviced. But it takes someone whose ideology is focused on the well-being of the most amount of people possible in society to actually meaningfully address these things. That's the bottom line.
Yep.
Erica Cringe. So apparently the New York Times and Washington Post knew about the secret plans to invade Caracas and kidnap Maduro ahead of time. Both papers chose not to publish a leak because it might harm U.S. soldiers. What the actual F?
Yeah, I saw some historical note. They knew about Bay of Pigs, too.
Owen from Boston, Maduro pleads not guilty in U.S. court. Greg from the Berg. Oh, there's some link there. Binkley, if Cuba is next, does that seem to be a sop to the exile community in South Florida? Of course. But, like, you know, what are they going to do? Like, it's just absurd. Matty Moron, I think their main interest is less in the concrete ability of U.S. corporations to take over the oil industry there as such, so much as they want the U.S. and those corporations to be the ones that control the spigot and where the oil goes, regardless of whether it's extracted by PDVSA, Chevron, Exxon, or whoever else.
Yeah, I think this is more of a military thing than a capitalistic thing. It's just controlled that giant reserve for America now in case things get hairy with China.
Yeah. Portnoy's complaint. So my question seems to get danced around in regular conversation about this, maybe because we don't know. But what do we make of the actual military personnel accepting this order to kidnap Maduro from the top to the bottom of the totem pole? We know acts of war require an act of Congress. Well, obviously that's not the case, but Why not in terms of this procedure? I mean, if you're suggesting that like you could do like a war crimes against the military in this instance, I think it's unlikely. It's more likely the killing of people in these boats is more problematic. Cardi's Carl Demsock. Really appreciate you guys starting with the positives. Okay.
Just about didn't.
Yeah, almost didn't, but the other positives is the Trump aspirin story that I'm obsessed with, but we can get into that later.
Oh yeah, with the do we have a clip
I
on
sent
that?
it, yeah.
Yeah, let's play this. This happened over the break. Donald Trump apparently had another. Okay, there was a story in the Wall Street Journal about how his health is failing.
And he did an interview, and he talked a little bit about, you know, his health routine. If you recall, like there was reporting that he doesn't like to exercise, and he told his college roommate this because he sees the body as a finite battery, and the more exercise you have, the more energy you lose over time.
That is exactly the way that's the way I do it. Like the way you keep young by reserving your potential.
Right.
Never hitting your potential. That is important.
I don't think that's how
Always
muscles
keep
work.
some in reserve. Keep some in reserve. But he also has said that he got tested again, another cognitive test. They gave him another annual cognitive test, which I believe now is his fourth in the past 5 months. You know,
annual.
And here is a report from, here it is. This is Donald Trump. And when did he do this?
It's True Social on the 2nd.
January 2nd.
Yeah.
The White House doctors have just reported that I'm in perfect health and that I aced, meaning I was correct on 100% of the questions asked. For the third straight time, my cognitive examination, something which no other president or previous vice president was willing to take. I got news for you. Why would you be testing the president for cognitive health over and over and over again?
Don't ask me to take that again. I don't want it.
I just
haven't studied for it.
Hey man, I took that 4 weeks ago. Why am I taking it again?
I know a giraffe when I see a giraffe.
That's a lion.
Here's the first question on the cognitive test. When was the last time you took the cognitive test?
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
I do not recall.
I don't know.
P.S. I strongly believe that anyone running for president or vice president should be mandatorily forced to take a strong, meaningful, and
Mandatorily forced.
Yes,
Okay,
a
do
great
it to
country
ladies.
cannot be run by stupid or incompetent people. President DJT. I've taken an annual cognitive test 4 times this year. 4 times I've taken my annual cognitive test. Here is a report. They brought somebody on from CNN. The Wall Street Journal talked about how Donald Trump said that despite, first off, they no longer, and I know this as someone who's like almost, 60 years old, they no longer prescribe, your doctor no longer prescribes baby aspirin as a prophylactic for heart attacks. They don't do that anymore unless you have like some things that may predispose you. And so it's rare for that to be the case anymore. And apparently Trump not only has decided to ignore mainstream medical advice on that.
No.
I'm going to actually take even more aspirin.
What the president said about aspirin, which has gotten a lot of attention, taking more aspirin than what his doctors are recommending, and his rationale for doing so, which is, he said, quote, "They say aspirin is good for thinning out the blood, and I don't want thick blood pouring through my heart. I want nice, thin blood pouring through my heart." Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yes, so that makes no sense. That actually makes nonsense. So first of all, when we use any kind of anticoagulant, medications to prevent clotting, those don't thin the blood. It's not like changing something from gumbo to chicken soup. It doesn't make it thinner. It makes you less likely to clot. And it used to be that we would treat a lot of people with aspirin therapy to prevent heart attacks. But we've learned in recent years that particularly people over the age of 70, not only is there no benefit in terms of just primary prevention, trying to prevent a cardiac event by giving them aspirin, that there can be hazard. And the hazard can be bleeding, significant bleeding.
That's not what Bobby said.
So here's the interesting thing about this. The president apparently is taking 325 milligrams of aspirin per day, which is essentially one adult-size aspirin tablet. But the dosage that we use for patients, even with documented coronary artery disease, is a quarter of that, is 81 milligrams per day. So why is the president taking, an unorthodox dose of aspirin? And the media has published, many photos of his right hand and now maybe his left hand with this chronic bruise. The White House has said that this is related to, chronic aspirin therapy. So if you're bruising a lot and your doctor says you're on too much aspirin, why wouldn't you go down to the lower dose? It makes no sense to me.
It's a part of my 25-year routine. Trump's been doing this for 25 years, he says.
I'm not a doctor, but it makes sense to me. I told him it was the right thing to do.
Well, Barron's the smartest guy I've ever met. He has autism, and Bobby says Tylenol and aspirin create autism, so now it makes me smart.
That's right.
Trump was diagnosed last year with chronic venous insufficiency, a condition in which leg veins struggle to send blood back towards the heart, causing blood to pool in the legs. I
don't think so.
A daily low dose of aspirin has long been recommended as a way of preventing cardiovascular disease due to its anti-platinum effect. I can't read that. The recommendation, blah, blah, blah.
Platinum.
All right, anyway, no, that was the relevant information there. But yeah, taking 325 milligrams in the low dose therapy calls for between 75 and 100 milligrams daily. So keep it up, buddy.
Next time he comes off Air Force One, he's going to be in a full body compression sock.
I just like the idea of him fixating on his blood's thickness.
Should we do our predictions for 2026?
You already did, but
Juicy blood.
Mine is Trump doesn't see this day in 2027. Oh, I should, as president. I mean, he may be, and this
Shuffling
is
around.
Look,
maybe in heaven.
This is just a complete. This is a total. This is total. Yes, this is definitely an aspirational. I guess prediction, but I do think it definitely feels like that. There's a sense amongst a lot of people like.
Every American will soon receive their own MedBed card.
It's the sense I get.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody? And no predictions? Anybody else?
You know me. I'm not doing that.
Oh, right.
Not doing that
J.D.
shit.
Vance divorces his wife in 2027.
Nice.
Okay.
And marries who?
Erica Kirk.
Erica Kirk. Oh, nice. Should we do this one like Alex Jones thing before we go? All right. Now.
So how is he able to continue to broadcast? Like, isn't he hundreds of millions of dollars in debt?
That's why.
That's how I'm paying for it.
He's got to pay.
I'm working for the man.
He's working for the Sandy Hook victims, right?
Because I saw his Chapter 11 was declined, right? So he can still keep broadcasting, but they're going to basically have to evaluate his company and pick it apart eventually.
Well, Chapter 11 means only that your company is protected from its creditors.
Right.
And so he can't escape his obligation to the Sandy Hook people by protecting himself from creditors. So I would imagine like every dollar that comes in is garnished in some fashion, or maybe like 95 cents on every dollar that comes in. So I don't know the
He
specifics.
has got to be incredibly like risk averse now, though, because he can't withstand another lawsuit. It's just interesting to me how somebody like this does that dance of being a well-known conspiracy theorist, but being unable to say anything that would approach getting you in some sort of legal trouble. It feels like it might not be a great fit anymore.
It's interesting too. He's decided, and I think because of that temerity, he has decided to go after Candace Owens because
She stole my whole goddamn flow.
she stole first of all, she stole my stick, and then I want to be on the side of the Kirk folks because of he was a great American.
Yeah.
I'll say he mentions that this post is satire in the reply to this, in case anybody gets confused, but also it's not performing that well. So let's see what Alex says here about Candace Owens.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now being reported by the mainstream corporate media that Erica Kirk is pregnant and that she's been hiding this fact. And the word is, according to a source I had that was in North Dakota at a military base, he just walked in the secure skiff. There was 15 colonels and all the people from TPUSA. They were having a big meeting about how Candace Owens is really a man, and that's why there's such a fight between him and Erica Kirk, is because 5 months ago, before Charlie got killed, Candace, also known as Big Mike Jr., got Erica Kirk pregnant. And Charlie found out about it, and that's why the two of them got together and conspired at the fort in North Dakota and also Fort Huachuca to assassinate Charlie to cover this up. But now the two are in a major fight.
Can you?
Wait, he claims this is satire. Okay, I was just saying that to make it seem like
To
it was
legally protect myself.
completely.
But okay, so he's claiming that satire. Can we respond to it at all? Like, what is it? I mean,
He's baiting. This is him, and this is the sort of coup de grace. He's baiting Candace Owens because fighting her is going to be his comeback.
okay, I get it because
I see what's
he's
going on.
engaging in what she does best now, which is essentially like TMZ GOP.
He was basically doing a parody of her.
Okay.
Didn't Tim Pool do this too? Tim Pool did this too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
so
their tactic.
lame.
Yeah.
But it's just lame also because, like, what, your conspiracy theories were better? Like, she's just...
Right, the
she's
Sandy
a
Hook
little
was
bit-
all crisis actors.
Right, because she's more of a
Listen.
gossipy conspiracy theorist doesn't make it better
She
or
needs to be
worse.
criticized for what she's saying about Camp Pachuca. However, the virulent anti-Semitism, I'm on board with. And all the questioning about... Did it like Joe Rogan also was like, somebody said Nick Fuentes was a Holocaust denier, and Joe Rogan was like, well, did he deny or did he just question the numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing to be criticizing Candace Owens, of course, is she's got the latitude of Camp Pachuca incorrect. However, the cabal of Jews that controlling the weather, and that she's nailed.
Here's Alex being a little bit more honest and maybe exasperated with his audience.
I remember saying to them, like I said, I got to investigate her now. I got a bad feeling. I didn't have a bad feeling. God gave me a good brain. I already knew. I dropped the ball. I apologize. She's a globalist agent. I dropped the ball and I failed you, and I'm sorry. I got to follow my gut every time. It's never wrong. And I saw so much more she did. And I love her people threatening me and all their doxing of people and all that. You think that's going to make me go away? All you did was wake me up like a nuclear test site waking up Godzilla. So just get your asses ready. Because you want a war? I want your war. I want it all. I want the doxing. I want the lies. I want the attacks. I'm going to take you on. Because you work for the deep state and the Democratic Party and the CIA and MI6, and I see your ass. So you just get ready. This ain't my first rodeo.
Yeah, we know.
In fact, they don't even let me in the rodeo anymore.
Yeah.
They wouldn't give me a ticket. I did not clear the...
Sort of an old rodeo clown that they stopped inviting back.
I did not qualify. I did not qualify for the rodeo this year.
Actually, to be fair, my role was the barrel.
I was, yeah, exactly.
It's quite convenient for I don't know. I have this nagging feeling about him that like I wonder if he's getting paid to be a conspiracy theorist, but that directs things in different ways.
I mean,
I have said for
Yeah.
15 years that if Alex Jones did not exist, the CIA would create him. Like,
But it just would be quite convenient to like have a conspiracy theorist that is saying who is completely compromised at this point and needs money more than anything. I'm just throwing that out there.
Alex Jones, in a documentary that John Ronson did like 25
Just
years
asking
ago,
questions.
It's called Them. He said David Icke is somebody putting a turd in the punch bowl of good conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Well, we just talk about like how desperate people like this. The Trump administration in particular loves leverage over people. I think that's part of why Pete Hegseth is our defense secretary, given the wealth of scandal.
He's going to really be
in his
thankful
past.
for that position.
Right. I mean, yeah. So it's just that's my own conspiracy theory about it.
Well, anyway, everyone's pointing out that Alex Jones actually has a sort of elite pedophilia cabal conspiracy theory to talk about, and he's kind of like ignoring it.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. But I mean, it implicates Trump. Maybe it's just as simple as that he's just a partisan now. Maybe.
He
But I
said
don't
you're
think
the
so.
CIA, the Democratic Party. Like,
Yeah.
Is CIA only working for the Democrats?
Am I winning you over with this, Matt? Maybe.
I mean, I'm been on this.
Oh, dang. All right. Thought it was an original thought. Dang it.
I just don't think it's the Sandy Hook thing that has him doing it. I think he's sort of always been this.
Okay.
All right, couple IMs. Let's get out of here. Oh, let's do 5. Rave Dubin. It was just reported that Alex Jones will debate Jackson Hinkle on Venezuela tomorrow. Hinkle is taking the anti-imperialist side.
Doesn't he live in like a different country now?
I
Hinkle?
don't know, but I just think it's so funny. Like, wait, Alex Jones is in like it's. Well, we just talked about Alex Jones. It's not my first rodeo. In fact, I'm not even allowed in the state that the rodeo is participating in this year. They wouldn't let me in. I'm not even in country. Tomo Flink. In fairness, that would explain why Erica has been headlining events to make Eurovision look dull. Kermit the Fat Hog. Wait, is Alex Jones being paid by the Macrons to make reverse trans allegations about Candace Owens?
It's just both sides fed jacketing each other now.
Yeah.
Berserk for the broth. What are the chances the kidnapping was negotiated? I have a hard time believing they were able to extract Maduro without bloodshed to Americans.
There was bloodshed, and they also they can't help themselves. They bragged to the New York Times that they had a CIA informant.
Adam, my wife wanted me to send a comment. She thinks Emma's manicure is very pretty.
Thank you so much.
Kowalski from Nebraska, your first 2026 IM. Happy New Year's, MR crew and community. I have a feeling that 2026 is going to go down as a historically significant year. I bet that neutral language will still cause dread. Anyway, Nebraska has recently achieved the $15 an hour minimum wage. Ballot measure 4 years ago set in motion a $1.50 increase for 4 years to go from $9 in 2023 to $15 now, and it will increase based on the Midwest Consumer Price Index every year moving forward. $15 an hour is the same as Massachusetts. That's amazing. Only Massachusetts is not set to increase its minimum wage. So Emma, Brian, and Matt, there is something wrong with the culture of Massachusetts. Do they hate workers, or they just have a lower cost of living than Nebraska? They certainly don't have a lower cost of living, my guess is. That's nuts. And the final IM of the day. The first final IM for 2026. I'm going to do this for probably the first 10 days of the year. And it comes from Tequila Willie. I want to do the J.D. Vance divorce, Erica Kirk remarry parlay as well, please. Matt, Brian, Emma, Great job on the first day of 2026. See you tomorrow.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the lie bar, but finding out won't make me feel any better. Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light's shining bright. I guess somewhere the choice was made for the option where you don't get paid, for the road that bends before it finally breaks you. I guess somehow I lost my drive between the 101 and the 5. Do you know how far the detour takes you? Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light shining bright. The months shifted into years while I shifted